To the following, I'd like to.
Hey, fucked it up. I moved.
That's all right.
No.
Just keep rolling.
And furthermore,
People moving this shit.
Yeah, they do move when they
No,
sing.
I don't move.
Don't put the magazine over top of
I
between
won't.
you and the
I won't.
mic. It looked like it was.
Oh, okay.
Because I was afraid we wouldn't do it.
Go ahead.
No.
Okay.
Don't worry about that, Bob. Don't.
Yeah.
Excuse me, in prelude to the following, I'd like to make a euphemistic commentary about the dark American noir past, namely, as Marcus McLuhan said, the question is there actually life before death?
You again.
Here's the date-old Marshall McLuhan. Bob! Good evening, and welcome to Contemporary Communications Conference. We're here through the good graces of Jerry Fialka and Randy Kopang, director, to speak with a friend and a huge influence on all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, the warm breath and thought of Bob Dobbs.
Thank you, Tom. It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
How do we end up in the same bed like this?
Well, the Pullman porter put me here.
Pullman, okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't that beep right?
Were you top or bottom? The fans will want to know that.
We were both floating. We were parallel.
I heard somebody mention something about McLuhan
Yeah, that
while I was asleep.
Yeah, he talked about the split between form and content, and under tactile conditions they merge. That's why you weren't figure or ground, and I wasn't figure or ground. We were floating, spenetrating.
Ah.
There's no top down and bottom up in tactility conditions.
So who was Shem and who was Sean?
Well, Shem today is not an artist, though he's portrayed as an artist in Finning's wake, but times have changed. Shem was Zappa, and Sean was the artist, the culture vulture, the one who started off. I saw the best term papers of my generation, badly marked.
Ooh, marginalia again.
Yeah, so the Sean is the managers of the museums, the managers of the industry, the ones who stay while the fake artists come and go.
Well, you know what Dylan said, if you want to see real death, just go to a museum.
When did he say that?
65. Nora Ephron interview.
In Playboy?
And then he ruined her life because she became a director of bad movies.
Yeah. And she did Sleepless in Seattle.
And conjuration some more. So, speaking of bad movies, Clarence Thomas once said, I am the victim of a public, high-tech lynching. So now we're going to make you all the fortunate receivers of a public, high-tech lynch-in. So this is kind of this is an update on the whole Griffith Park 67 scenarios of love-ins. We've gone through that. We've gone through hate-ins with Manson and company.
Yes.
And now we're at a lynch-in. So we're going to talk a little about David Lynch.
Well, let's say that David tries to lynch the black hole, the noir hole that culture got into after 77 via negative land. So Lynch had to be optimistic or have this cheerful Norman Rockwell exterior to balance off the content of his films, which attempt to lynch the negativity of fear. Lynch, I heard him interviewed. He was on NPR a couple months ago, and he was talking to these film critics. And the first thing they asked him, "What are your films about?" And he said, "My films are about what happens to people when they go into the unknown, and the fear that brings out, and the consequences of that fearful unknown on their lives." Mm-hmm. And I was struck by the critics saying, "I have never heard Lynch say so clearly, so succinctly, what his films are about." But since they assume that's a clear statement, let's go with that. That his simple thing is people being in an unknown and unfamiliar situation that creates fear, and then Lynch even said they become decadent, they decay in that situation. So
you're saying they assume The critics assume that's a clear statement
Yeah.
by him.
And
Do you think that's a clear statement? Do you feel that's a clear statement, or is he just obscuring what his work is about with kind of a nice petite bourgeois tag on it?
it's a clear statement, but you have to see the position he's saying it from. And that's what I was leading into, is that's the optimistic guy critiquing the effects of negativity, pessimism, the dark, the fearful on people. And so therefore he is always optimistic or positive and cheerful
In his public image.
in his public image, but
He's a Boy Scout.
yeah, and he has to have that image to counter the negativity that he's writing about or painting.
All right, but this is pretty standard stuff, though, at this point.
Yes.
You're already way beyond that.
Well,
Because every American rebel does this.
no,
Zappa, he's a
no.
weirdo. No, he's really a good businessman who can sit down and talk with a Senate committee. He's a real sensible guy. See, all the American rebels, per se, always do this. Oh, they really live a normal life. You know, you always hear that.
The real American rebels.
No, the media
not
rebels.
the Dennis Hoppers or the Jack Nicholsons. The real holy offices like Zappa, and Lynch is not a holy office, but he's working for Bob. You know, Zappa. When you cite Zappa, he doesn't try to play up his rebelliousness in his personal life. You know that's
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, so we have to say the real American rebels, because American culture is a rebellious culture, the individualistic thing.
Mm-hmm.
So to be the non-rebel, the practical, I don't even say practical, the sober person, the one who believes, who radiates confidence in conservative values, is an anti-environment to the American anarchy. So you see what I mean? That the rebels, I'm correcting your terms, the anti-environment to the rebels, which are the real rebels, because they're violating the American archetype, right?
All right, let's shift now.
Now Dylan did it eventually when he woke up.
Ooh, well, that's
He
another
did-
subject
he-
entirely.
He caught up and he
Right.
realized it, and he admitted
Right.
in the Rolling Stone in '69 that he wasn't as aware as he should have been, leading to the accident. But let's go back to Lynch now. You know, I'm going to say things.
So he's saying his movies are about fear.
I don't want this to be an interview.
He's saying about fear.
This is a dialogue. You can bring in your ideas too. You know what I mean? Or you can. I'm going to ask you questions.
Oh, you better do it
So
now.
It's a dialogue.
You better do it
No,
now.
I don't know. I don't know when I'll ask him. But
So his movies really aren't about fear. They're about puke, cockroaches, big ears, sex, auto wrecks, violence to the skull, principally. There's a lot of violence to the skull, heads.
yeah.
All right, cranial violence in David Lynch's movies. About invoking, they're kind of about polishing off each genre fetish and
Right.
fine-tuning it. And they're also about creating the subtext where you always think, in the time continuum, at least the movies based in America, they're taking place in some weird, elasticized 1950s. You know, no matter what era they're taking place in. That's why in Wild at Heart, when they go to see the rock band, you keep thinking you're sort of led to believe they're going to be seeing like a Chris Isaak quartet, but instead it's like a long-haired, heavy rock band.
Yes.
The first dance scene. So what's with all that? What's with the old radios? What's with all the fetish objects, the old statues,
Well, again, Tom.
old telephones in every movie?
Yeah. You're very good at evoking the appropriate images. Now you're noticing the correct images and the repeat of them.
Is Lynch about more than images?
Yes, I'm going to give you the meaning of the images. To go back to the skull. Why the skull being smashed?
Right. Andy the pornographer in Lost
Right,
Highway.
right.
He becomes an art object.
Yes.
He's a bleeding skull on a coffee table. The ultimate coffee table art.
Now, as McLuhan said, that the artists of the 60s, 70s, if they're comprehensive artists predicting Bob, who's the comprehensive scientist, they have to do their images mathematically, not the dadaistic pre-World War II automatic writing of imagery, trying to tap into the unconscious, the Freudian effect.
Oh,
It's
that's interesting.
post-Freudian.
So we're getting away from words and big symbols like the swastika and the cross, and we're
Right.
going into math?
Mathematical use of images. So we can know exactly what the skull is referring to. First of all, just before we go into that, the reason you have the 50s to the 90s is that Lynch is doing my chart, which is from 1960 to 1990, which is 1947 to 1997, if you look at the details on the chart, which is a replay of 1840 to 1945, right? Or even up to 1960. So we then know that he's dealing with the present, and the skull would be the electric logo at the end of Twin Peaks, the Frost Lynch production, the electric sign. That's the electric extension of the central nervous system. Central nervous system is generally considered to be in the skull. So the smashing of the skull, the anthropomorphic skull, is a symbolism of the extension of the electric manipulating tactility of television, computers, and satellites. So basically, the smashing of the skull is what people have had to live under those conditions in the 1960s. That's the meaning of the skull. The reason
What replaces the skull?
The electric virtual reality, the plasticity, the weirdness, the interdimensionality, the second nature artificial.
Ah.
You know what I mean?
We're getting to that.
Yeah.
We getting there now. A movement is introduced right there.
Yes.
Watch out, Stravinsky. Oh, you know what Godard said? He said the reason he called his new movie Mozart
No, I don't
was
know.
because he wanted a big, popular demographic audience. And the original title was Stravinsky. And he said he could not get any kind of crowd. You know, because guys on skateboards, or in Sonic Youth shirts are going to go, wow, Mozart! That sounds good!
That's
That sounds really good! I want to see that!
That's culture.
It shows how Godard understands us, doesn't it?
Did he run it for a while as Stravinsky?
No, but he wanted the title. The whole working title was Stravinsky.
And then he realized.
Yeah.
Well, that means he made two movies. The one was for himself. And then, as Duchamp said, when the artist gives up the artwork, takes on a life of its own, he tried to match with the collective consciousness, which is all that's out there.
So the title is always for the audience. Only.
Yes. If you're a conscious artist, you put on the collective consciousness, which disappeared by 1990, so...
Is Lynch a conscious artist?
No, definitely not.
Or is he falling victim to his own PR?
Wouldn't Schultz have the right to sue him then for building up that audience with peanuts?
With what?
Peanuts.
With Peanuts.
Oh.
It's interesting. Nick Cage calls Laura Dern Peanut. Another theme is introduced, all through Wild at Heart.
Did that answer you? Did that answer?
Peanuts.
I would say on that, yeah, we could go to court with that.
Okay.
Yeah?
Circumstantial.
You give me Johnny Cochran, I'll go to court on anything, baby. Yeah. So we have the whole
Now the next theme.
the skull.
Yeah, that's a skull.
Is that all? Is that all you get from it? Is there more to? You got the macrocephalic elephant man. You got
there's a
skulls
skull.
are always being done dirt in his movies.
See, the Elephant Man is this 19th century movie. That's when the electric system hasn't burst yet.
Hasn't burst yet.
Yeah. So, but it's growing, and
Don't forget the eraser head.
that's a skull term.
Yet
right
another
there.
movement is
Erase
introduced.
the head.
That's what kicked it all off.
What an oratorio this is.
Yeah. Now here's the thing about movement. Is that kinetic space is the only sensory closure in tactile conditions, because tactility...
Kinetic spaces.
Yeah, because in tactile conditions you're everywhere at once. You can't move anywhere. You're in touch with everything, all
Right,
dimensions. So as an effort to be an anti-environment to that, or create a Rai separateness, you have to retrieve and put on movement.
You're hitting my essence now, baby.
Yeah, okay.
When that Rai comes in.
Whoa.
Whoa. Whoa.
What a drink.
Don't let me
he
get
is.
peripheral on you now.
Yes, what a pill he is.
Yes, PIL, Public Image Limited.
Limited. Yeah.
So,
No, the second theme...
the only train I ever rode,
The other mathematics, the only train you ever rode.
the Public Image Limited.
Yeah.
The Super Chief only went to Kansas City, then the Public Image went all the way to Toronto. Hey!
Now
So,
I'm explaining the second theme of the mathematics.
of Lynch and his math.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second thing is the vagueness of what day it is, what time it is. What
Oh, yeah, he
decade.
always has that arbitrary 25
Right.
years later, 2 months, 6 days,
25.
4 hours later, all this stuff.
So the chart is 60 to 90. It's all happening at the same time, which is when you expose the collective unconscious, when it's extended by electric environment, then the Akashic records are in flux and all times are present. So he has to include the images from the 50s to the 80s or 90s. He has to have them resonating. So it's a perfect, precise,
But why? Everybody else does.
because he's mirroring.
Rock videos have used them all to
As
death.
an
Everybody has used them all to death.
As an unconscious image, as an unconscious artist, he has to mirror. All he can do is mirror the reality, the landscape. And the landscape is this nebulous, timeless zone that evokes all times, from 50, 60 to 90. So he has to have that element in there. So he's writing clinically. He's composing clinically. He's not putting his own personal imagery, like he does in his paintings, into the movie. He is saying the law is...
He's just invoking symbols we know already.
No, he's using symbols according to defined
According
meanings.
to a formula.
Yeah, to a formula.
So you're almost making it like Zappa's event structure.
Yes. Yeah.
You think it's that conscious?
Yeah, all the real rebel artists do that because the popular zeitgeist is to retrieve childish naivety and spontaneity and creativity.
Okay, this is a good point.
Yeah, because in looking at the Lynch documentary, all the actors and actresses find that Lynch creates an environment for great spontaneity and freedom, and
Yeah.
they're totally unaware of him as a scientist creating a laboratory where they can act out their narcissistic American spontaneity and be creative and not follow some Hollywood main industry film dictate. But yet they don't know, and that's why he goes in without a script, without any ideas, because he doesn't know what the film's about until he sees how the actors, through their spontaneity, emit and vomit, like his first film, where they vomit some kind of...
A lot of puke in Wild at Heart.
Yeah, they puke, and then he sees the puke, and he says, "Oh, we can use that." Now his acuity is to be on the spot, noticing what he can use, and then say that's what we'll use, and then put it in and create a continuity out of it. So he walks into a situation. He turns the lab lights on. He watches these people flounder around with their standard reflex, stereotypical acting methods, and then he finds what they unconsciously give him. And then he organizes according to the formula that he's already got laid out. So so if it's E equals MC squared, he waits till Laura Dern does something that can be M.
Right. Well, a lot of it is physicality.
That's
I
physics.
think his movies just have a lot to do with
Physics.
registering what the actor's physicality is.
Yeah, and that's physics.
You know, he likes types that can do different things. You know,
Right.
the cherry stem,
he does.
all those bits of business that they can do physically.
Yeah.
He likes.
Yeah.
But I think there's a downside to the whole thing because what you get with his filmmaking is Jerry Seinfeld vignettes.
Yes.
You know, you have these 3-minute, 4-minute burnished, perfected, completed scenes that are just mere entertainments.
Right.
But Lynch never does like a 15-minute one take. Ever. He never does a long dolly shot. Ever. His movie making is very Seinfeld.
Right.
Ultimately.
Because
he does a very vignette postcard surface thing. Stylistically.
Because he wants to, like a statistician, create a lot of variables to get a lot of statistics. So he doesn't want to stick on one theme. That's irrelevant. You know, to have something extended wastes lab time. You know what I mean? So he wants to create different chemical, like with Pavlov's dog. You know, change the droppings that forms the dog salivating. You know, so he wants to do that. Okay, now we'll shift around and see what this does. So the vignette or the content is temporary, and the shorter the better, so that he can. And this is when he's making it. You know, this is when he's making it. Now we see the product. Now the product is what Lynch is unconscious of. These movies are only made for me. Since I'm the only thing still alive, they all predict me and resonate exactly with my life.
You're speaking of Bob.
Of me, yeah.
You're speaking of Bob.
Bob Dobbs, yeah. And then there's Bob. Now, I'll show you, to make it particular in Lost Highway, when I read...
Uh-oh.
Yeah, when I looked
You're going to get highly personal.
No. No. It's just that I looked at our previous tapes. And in the third tape, luckily I looked at it before we came out here, I talk about some of the meaning in Twin Peaks as it relates to me. And I bring up the Bob Dean / Bob Dobbs issue and how it's a mystery to me. And I will continue that theme.
I've heard of this Bob Dean.
Yes, we all have, but we don't know who he is. Now, we did that in 95. He was probably filming that in 95.
He was filming...
Lost Highway. Sorry.
Ah,
Lost Highway.
yeah.
Because I brought it up in the previous tape about Twin Peaks, with the Great Northern reference. That Bob comes from the Great Northern, which they claim Bob Dean comes from. And I certainly spent time in the Great Northern, Canada. So, in 95, we're talking about that, and I assume Lynch, the movie comes out in early 97, or not? When did it?
Early 97, yeah.
Yeah, this last...
Spring.
Christmas 96,
Probably
I saw.
Connie's birthday, probably the first day of spring.
No, I saw Lost Highway around Christmas 96. Does that make sense? About a year ago?
I don't think it came out that late, no.
Okay, anyways, it
played in the theaters here for about a month, so
Came
I
out-
saw it probably around April, 97.
Okay, so we could say it was made in 95, 96.
Right.
Right? Now, the point is what is Lost Highway about? It is about the mystery of how Bob Dobbs took over Bob Dean, because Bill is in jail, and then all of a sudden the other kid, I can't remember his name, Freddie or whatever, is in jail. They switched identities. The very issue and crux of the matter of whether Bob Dobbs was mind controlled by the Secret Council of 10, and Bob, myself, does not know why Bob Dean has to do it. Bob Dean comes up.
Well, we don't even know why you remember some of Bob Dean's dreams, since you never met him.
No, I never,
or how people told you about them. The dream about the moth. We'll save that for later when we go down in the basement.
Dream. That was Bob Dean. That was my dream.
That was your dream?
Yeah, I had that dream. If I said, did I say that on record on some TV show that it was Bob Dean's?
Yes.
On our dialogues?
Yes.
Did I say that? Oh my God.
Can you take that to court?
Not me.
Schultz can.
Not against Bob in the secret.
Schultz can. Snoopy isn't here today. He was busy.
Okay, well, this confusion is appropriate to what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob Dean had this dream, but I thought I had it. But if I said Bob Dean had it while being
Anyone who's not confused right now while watching this is probably not sexualizing enough. They're probably not getting laid enough or having enough sexual pleasure in their life.
And they're not living healthy.
So clear to me.
Yeah.
See? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Plus you have lovely glasses on.
They're not living healthy lives.
No,
They're
and
not.
we're going to help them now.
Yes.
This is a therapeutic abortion
Yes.
from the word go, from the get-go, as they say.
Right. So
But what I want to establish is...
No, I haven't finished. Yeah, I want to explain about this.
No, but I want
important
to enhance, embellish, and kind of fine-tune it for the audience.
Oh, okay. If you want to elaborate on the theme about this, the point that Lost Highway is all about what's on tape and what isn't and what's real.
And you're saying Lynch ultimately arrives at doing
The Bob Dobbs dilemma.
Bob Dobbs' life through a mathematical formula.
Yes, through the formula that he's already laid out in early movies.
So is he aware of the theorem lattice? I mean,
No,
how would he
no,
have access
he's
to
not
some
a-
of these codes? How?
Because everything disappeared.
How?
Here's the reason. Everything disappeared in 77, and all you have from 77 to 90 is Bob and Connie in the anthropomorphic form.
Did you like that emphatic how, by the way?
Emphatic what?
That emphatic how.
How?
How. When I was saying how.
Oh, okay. You mean the American
I thought
how?
I thought I'd do that right then.
So that the Canadian how is phatic. It's not
Right.
emphatic.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Yeah. So, so the anthropomorphic phase of Bob and Connie from 77 to 90, we wait all of consciousness waits to see if Bob and Connie survive the android meme attacks from 77 to
Oof.
90.
God, they've been numerous.
Right. So Lynch surfaces.
Cardboard thunderbolts.
Yes. So Lynch surfaces from 77 to 90. Twin Peaks is in 90. Eraserhead surfaces in 77.
Mm-hmm.
So he is, at best, at all he can do is mirror the anthropomorphic physical situation of Bob and Connie, right?
Right.
Now he doesn't know that. So the formula is it's mapping directly on events in our life. And that's why we can't expect too much more from Lynch movie-wise. He's going to have to go back to Twin Peaks and go into the 25 years later because he has come to the crux of the matter in Lost Highway.
Right.
He's come to the issue of where does Bob Dean begin and where does Dobbs leave off.
Right.
Because that whole replacement in the prison of those two male characters in Lost Highway is the problem. Now, which one is Bob Dean and which one's Bob Dobbs? Because I took over Bob Dean in
the kid is
66.
Dean.
Yeah, because he's
The kid
younger.
is Dean, yeah.
But no, that's a possibility. But the counter argument is that if I'm 75 years old, I have to look younger than I am. That's why the young kid would be Bob Dobbs, because Bill, he is zapped. He disappears. All right, he's gone for the rest of the movie.
Well, Bill is Bob when he's arriving at the point where he's calling himself
Bob.
the greatest. Yeah, Bill is Bob when he's arriving at the point where he's calling himself the greatest musician on earth.
Right, okay.
Even
yeah.
surpassing Lyndon LaRouche, the White Sound, the Great Northern Sound, the Lost Leaders, the Mozart again. I worked around it. Thank you. So, the whole thing is, and the kid is the young Bob Dean. He's an innocent. He's sexy. He's puffing. He's a puffin. He's a muffin man.
Yes. Yeah.
He's of the flesh.
Yes.
And, well, in that movie you get the same thing you get in all the Lynch movies, too, with the two women in the photograph. What's with the photograph with the doppelgangers all the time? There's always a photograph on a mantelpiece with doppelgangers.
Well, that's the...
Isabella Rossellini, there's two in Wild at Heart, there's two Patricias. What is with that?
Well, that's the the McLuhan point that Fialka keeps bringing up.
Who?
Jerry Fialka.
I need a cigarette when you say that.
Yeah. The
I've heard that name before.
which is Czechoslovakian for purple.
Purple, yes.
Means purple. But
The
Fialka,
marooned.
yes. No, well, that's in the previous tape. That's Zappa.
I know,
so
but
far,
some
yeah.
people don't have it
Yeah,
yet.
the maroon. Now the.
That's on side 3.
Yeah, is that where is that a part you saw this past week, or you just remember that from 2 years ago? The maroon.
I can't tell you.
Okay, because that.
Until the Secret Council comes up with some cash.
Yes.
I won't answer the real questions until that time.
$5.
Give me $5. I answered that.
What was I just?
Oh, I wanted to ask you,
No,
but this
no,
will
no,
lead
I
to
got
it, Bob,
no,
because I don't know if you've
I
explained
hope so.
to
I
the
forgot.
audience.
What the hell was I? Jerry Fialka. So
Jerry
fine,
Fialka.
you ask a question, we got to answer it. Instead,
But we always do.
No, but
I've had people watch
this
those
is
tapes.
important a question because Fialka always cites the McLuhan anecdote of the woman coming along. And the neighbor sees the baby. Oh, what a beautiful baby! And the mother says, "Oh, that's nothing. You should see his photograph."
Ah, yes.
All right, that's an archetypal
right, that's
McLuhan
right.
story.
Much like Jerry's guitar sounds much better on tape.
Yeah. See, Lynch has to be dealing with virtual reality in the machines because everything they've disappeared in '77, and all you're going to have after that is the Android meme.
Right, the machines are talking to themselves.
Yes.
The machines are talking to themselves.
Yeah.
The words are satirizing all human activity.
Right.
Right? And then Lynch arrives via mathematics, not words or talk, by
Painter.
mathematics.
Yeah.
Are you staying with that? He's really
Yeah.
arrived at...
Painter.
by using his
Painter.
formula, you still don't know which one is Bob or which one is Bill.
Right. Because he doesn't know. That's why the movie. In the end,
Okay, so there really is an important confusion in the movie.
Yeah, it's very. He can't resolve that, but he shows you that the reason one can't really get a handle on it, if you're not me, is. I'm not saying that I figured it out yet, but I'm the one who's.
And I know you haven't.
I'm the one who's going to judge it in the end, whether we've got the answer or not, because I'm the
Right.
one who had the experience. But the fact that the end ends up about whether it's all on a TV video screen. What happens at the end of Lost Highway? It was
Sure,
all done,
right.
which is including the Akashic record notion that we're doing tape replays of something.
Right.
So, and that's all it can be after 77. So that's why Lost Highway is a very important culmination of his formula, because he's showing that the head was erased by the virtual reality of the broken skull.
Okay, but see what they're doing.
Excuse me, but thank you for resolving that mathematical uncertainty principle.
Yes. For you got something out of that?
Well, Tom had a certain degree of uncertainty as well.
Okay.
I'm clear, baby, I'm clear.
Mathematically speaking, it was the uncertainty principle.
Yes.
You see, what's happening here is Bob is completely fooled at this point. Robert Blake in Lost Highway is Bob. He's the dark angel of death who you think is going to wreak ultimate havoc on the lead characters.
Yes.
He is going to destroy them, but he is actually the force of deliverance for Bill, the musician,
Yep.
emulating Bob, arriving back full circle
Yes.
where he was at the beginning of the movie,
Yeah.
re-entering his own contact with himself via technology, the squawk box on the wall of the apartment complex where he lives. So you notice how when Bob Dobbs shows up, people fill in the blank, a lot of death.
A lot of disappearing. No, that's very good, Tom. I'm glad.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Right,
You
I
want to
want-
talk about that?
I definitely-
Robert Blake.
Yes.
Is
Bob-
Bob Dobbs.
Bob Blake.
And it's the Bob, and it's the Blake, the William Merwin Thompson Blake.
yes.
The falling angels taking time to light 2 cigarettes, the whole thing.
Yeah. And,
know?
and they used to call McLuhan a Blake run amok.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
because he was just wedded to mere Catholicism.
But McLuhan made the important point that if Blake was alive today, in other words, McLuhan's talking about himself as representing that part of Blake, that Blake would have the exact opposite ideology that he had.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because 18th century he had to be the first nature organic guy versus
Sure.
the second nature technology, but now it would be the opposite. But let me address it's very
If Blake
important,
was alive
very
today, see, there would be no Tom Paine for him to hide.
Yeah.
You know? He'd say, Bill Mitchell, get out of here.
Yeah.
So, you know.
No, it's very good. See, it just works step by step.
Robert Blake. So
Yeah.
are you saying that you were deliberately fooled by the mathematical formula?
No, this-
into thinking that one of those 2 guys was you?
No.
When Blake, the angel of death, who
It-
delivers him.
Right.
And that movie shows the point of transition. Right in the next conversation with you, after I'd seen that movie, you started talking about it's all positone from here on in.
Yes.
It's cold fusion. The deaths are gonna stop. We're gonna resuscitate this entire thing. Bob is not into killing anymore.
Yes. Now, okay, let me answer that.
Why?
Yes, let me answer.
The fix is in.
Yeah.
Everything's turned now.
Lynch has
Things are getting better all of a sudden.
Lynch has finished.
Oh, he is. He's back to
The damn,
Chris Isaac videos
That's why we're
from now on.
That's why we're here. And remember, it's lockdown Bob
This is a
rule.
new age, beginning right now.
Right.
The lockdown Bob rule begins in 1990. It's been good since 1990 because cold fusion was announced in '89, and Connie got involved with her medical modality in '90.
Right.
So it's been good for '90, but because you have the after image, you've had nothing through most of the '90s but interpretations of Bob, retrieving
Oh,
of Bob's
sure.
holy, Bob
absolutely,
stuff,
everywhere.
from Pynchon to McLuhan, everywhere.
Oh,
something
God.
of Bob. Okay, and it's even,
I heard you say Pynchon's a really terrible writer once.
yeah, because
Why?
because he writes.
Thank you.
Yeah, in English. But Tom, this is a very important point, which as usual, the jammers with Bob, the co-musicians,
The jammers.
yeah, help unfold the melody perfectly by and
Your little McCoy Tyners
yes,
feeding you those blocks of chords.
we had to get to the point for you to say that because what I want to say, and then I say something, I've left out the other half or the other four parts because I can't say it all in the verbal medium.
Yes, it's too much fun.
Yeah, too much.
It's
thought.
too much fun.
Fun, right.
Right.
So it's so great that you.
Now
you know,
the deaths have stopped for us second nature people. So if we want to wise up the marks out there, the rubes, you know, and we were trying to do that. You knew what the quandary was about, baby. You know, all these Andrew Weil people going down to the little reservation thinking they're real Hopis when they're Shiites.
yeah.
And they're selling their little knickknacks and little, you know, Dia de Muertos shit to bring back to Los
pendulum
Angeles.
swinging.
You know, what a con. So, you know, they're all being...
What a
you don't
con,
even have
and
to
not
try.
Connie.
Not a Connie, right.
I-E.
Oh, yeah, just the con.
N-I-E,
They can't do the knee.
Yeah, they
you
can't
know.
do the knee.
Oh, they're not worthy
They
of
don't
eating
have
off
the
Connie's
knee.
knees,
That's
as
right.
you are.
Yeah, they can't
That's
sit
why
on
they
her lap.
can't do the knee.
Yeah.
True.
So let me explain. It's very important that you brought up the Blaking point. Because,
Yes.
Because if you look at the chart, you have on the chart, you have Bob Dean, Bob Marshall, Bob Neverett, Bob Dobbs,
Yes.
and Rumpelstiltskin. But Bob Dobbs is in the fourth phase, the Croker phase, but Bob Dobbs is also in the Rumpelstilts phase. He's both in the anthropomorphic physical fifth level and in the fourth satellite squared level.
Mm-hmm.
So Bob is in both phases. So there's at least five.
Much like
Bobs.
the characters
There has to be
in...
five.
you know, and it mimed society, too, because in the 60s it was the key C, are you on the bus or
Yeah,
off the bus?
yeah.
And now, like in Lost Highway, are you in jail or are you out
No,
of jail?
are you on tape or not on tape?
Ooh, same
That's-
thing.
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing.
It's, the bus was hardware. The software is old hat now, so people can bring it up as mainstream movies.
Exactly.
Software issues. So here's the point: you got at least five Bobs, four: Bob Dean, Bob Marshall, Bob Neverett, Bob Dobbs, and then Rumpelstiltskin. Now Blake is the third Bob in the movie. You got two
You see how
Bobs.
language always
Who's the
always
fourth Bob?
satirizes
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Who's that? Very good statement there. The language, the juice
Right.
that comes out.
Who is the
satirizes-
fourth
yeah.
Bob?
This always amazes you. You always,
Who is the fourth Bob?
Yeah. The fourth Bob is David Lynch.
How do you figure that, though? Oh, the Bob's Big Boy tie-in.
He's a director.
That's the only place he
He's
eats.
the director. If you look on the chart, you look where the director is. And one of the labels is named director.
Oh, he directs those things.
Yeah, he's the directing Bob, the
Well,
Tetrad manager.
you know,
now
it's
here-
a title, though.
Right. The thing is he's the fourth Bob. He's within the Tetrad manager imitation, and that's obsolete. So the fifth Bob is me explaining how the movie makes sense in my terms, and only my terms, and not in anybody else's terms, because it's not about anybody else. All right? Now,
Why Twin Peaks was canon.
that's right.
Well, you know, Bob.
When Prince Charles...
You know, Bob. That movie is very, very autobiographical.
Right on the cusp of ascending to the Electric Sky Church 25 years later, and they pulled the plug.
Yeah.
Are you invoking Hendrix here? The Seattle thing again.
Okay, I want to bring up the
The
point.
Electric Sky Church.
Let me explain.
Unconsciously.
Unconscious.
Tom, no, you got to slow down for a second. Yeah, let me say something. The 25 is very important. That it says
25.
25. I mean, Laura Palmer's going to see Cooper in 25 years. Now let's look. 63 to 88, 25 years. Frank Zappa. Okay. What is this? 1997. What's 25 years ago? 72. 72. That's the William Irwin Thompson phase, 67 to 72. That's post-Rai. Anyways, where does
Hoover
Bill...
dies. Watergate is detected.
But the point,
Watergate operation.
But I want to bring it right back to Lynch. in the end of the movie, when Bill is walking down the hallway, what room does he go in? Room
22.
25.
Oh, is it 25 or 22?
25.
You sure?
In one of the images.
Oh,
I
they're
just saw-
staying in room
Yeah.
22 though.
They go in. Yeah, they're in 22.
So they go from
but
22
he
to
goes.
25.
He interacts with a prominent 25.
Right.
So 25 is 7. 2 and 5 is 7.
Well, Marilyn Manson was in that room, so it wasn't that prominent.
Right.
Thank
So the 7 is the beginning of the chart, 1960. So, and 25 was the address for Bob Dean. 25 Crichton Park Road. Can you believe that? This is what I've been told. 25 Crichton Park Road.
Is that where he had that dream?
No, he didn't have the dream. I'm going to claim. I had the dream.
Who's going to erase the
See,
other
Tom,
tapes?
you-
Who's going to erase the other tapes?
Rumpelstiltskin. Rumpelstiltskin. Now, so see that's what's so appropriate for Lost Highway to have the Bob Dean, Bob Dobbs dilemma.
Right. You also
Then-
have the Deep Dell dilemma.
then to bring
Do you want to
in-
go there yet?
Not yet, no. And then to bring in the Rumpelstiltskin factor, which is Blake, an approximation, but a
Right.
continuation of Bob from Twin Peaks.
Right.
You know, so
Who was the jailer in Lost Highway? One of the jailers. Henry Rollins.
Henry Rollins.
They're
the-
locked into that punk rock world.
which you say to punk rock, which you say to Jerry in the prelude to some Bob.
It's even in
article.
writing.
Right, it's in writing where Henry Bob's. I created punk, and then you and athletic merging of the last.
Right, and the coolest thing is that Nancy can read the end here of that, because it's on tape and it's in writing. That he created to CBGB's the first physical enactment of poetry.
The emerging
Doing
of the sports
push-ups
star,
while reading Wasteland?
the merging of sports star and culture star.
Right, by reading
No, reading a
Wasteland.
dollar bill. Reading my
Oh, reading a
poetry
dollar
from my
bill.
dollar bill, which was laying beside the microphone on the stage at CBGB's.
Ah, okay.
But the immediate thing for you when you first heard that was Henry Rollins was the acting
Black.
out of that.
Right.
Yeah, that for in your context, that was the
Right.
proof of my
Oh, there's
statement.
puns all over the place.
So then you're right. I forgot about that. Rollins is in the movie
Right.
Lost Highway. So isn't it strange how Lynch works, and he's proving my case, and he's totally unaware of my case, but he's proving it. And in retrospect, when you look back, it's there. Isn't that incredible?
It's there, yeah. It's
So
all there in that movie.
That proves he's
Everything is in that movie.
Yeah, he's proving the Bob situation from 77 to 90. Now,
And the best explication visually of acoustic space is Blake handing the phone to Bill so that Bill can talk to Blake, who's back at Bill's apartment.
right, and the telephone is the cover of Bob's book and Connie's book.
Oh, that's right.
The dangling phone, and many people say that the internet is an update of the telephone situation.
That's right. The hell with a dangling conversation. We want to see that phone.
The dangling participle, which would be kinetic space. The dangling kinetic participle as action. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so the telephone is not what the internet is. The internet, the new media, are not any known media. They're not television, TV. They're not even mixed corporate media. They're a new virus. And
even they're an old-fashioned flim-flam at the same time.
right, they're a retrieval. They're
It's,
not the present.
Cyberspace is the gold rush. It's 1849.
And it's interactive, whereas the phone is this Dolly's great masturbator.
Yeah. So the point.
Dolly's Great Masturbator?
One of his greatest paintings.
Right. So the thing is that the internet.
The web is interactive.
Yeah, the web is a retrieval of 77 to 90. That's why in Up the Orphic Andy.
Oh, I'd go back farther. See, everybody's selling space on cyberspace. And that brings in the W.C. Fields Masonic thing. Because what is cyberspace but some guy in California in 1849 in San Francisco saying, "Oh, here's a land deed. It's good. Here. You got some land now."
You mean
and the guy goes, "Yeah, I got some land."
The print.
There's nothing there, though.
That's true.
There's really nothing there.
But again, Tom, you're proving what I'm going to say. You're anticipating what I'm going to say. That's exactly what I was going to say, but in better words. I mean, you're reacting. I don't mean to put down. I mean, you can't know that consciously. You know.
Only my audience will know
It's
if
your
it's a put
subgenius.
down.
Yeah, it's your subgenius hood that you say the right things.
I love when I get bashed, because then everybody goes, "Oh, poor Brennan. God, we like him."
Yes, they sympathetic. That's why Bob remains eternally married to one woman, because nobody can fall in love with
Connie.
him because he's too mean.
Oh, Connie's wonderful.
Yeah, well, lucky I married them, the only woman around. So
Mean and Manipian.
what?
Mean and Manipian.
Yes,
Just like technology of 100 years ago.
that's right. 100 years ago.
100 years ago. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Oh.
Yay. Okay, now can I speak?
Mwah.
Okay. The
I
thing-
haven't said a word.
Yes, that's true. Now words will be said with piquancy and pungency
Yo.
and scientific
Ooh.
precision.
Piping.
Yes, the exact words. since all machines disappeared in 77. You're right to say the internet has to go back before that, when there were machines, right?
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
But I'm trying to define what the internet is. The internet is the web. We'll call it the web.
The web.
The web is the anthropomorphic physics of 77 to 90. The web is that nothing can be done outside of the Bob and Connie context. All the holy offices from 77 on, they disappeared in 77. When Bob gets in touch with Mae Brussel again, then she's retrieved for a little while. And then if I shift away from Mae and go to Dr. Beater, Mae disappears again. So from 77 to 90, as I spell out up the Orphagani Manifesto, these holy offices only take on a life when Bob deigns to involve them, to evoke them.
Well, that's a good point, because
Yeah.
you don't really lower yourself to using outmoded technology like the internet.
Right.
If you need information, you don't go to this useless repository of information. You call the evergreens.
Okay.
Why? Because you have the money.
Yeah, no, that's he identifies with that.
$5.
Give me a dollar.
I am money, and the only money
You
left
are money. You're
today.
currency, baby.
That's right.
Ooh, you're up to date. I'm
Yes.
telling you.
Yeah. And
You're going to bring tail fins back anytime now.
as Stang says, well, if you're Bob, when do we get paid? And that's what you're saying. You're not
Right.
doing nothing until the paper is
Right.
here.
And you already said, Lynch, the product.
Yes,
The
that's
product.
right. That's right, the product.
The
Now,
product.
So the web is the fact that the only real reality is from 7790s Bob and Connie. So everything reflects that and is controlled by Bob and Connie.
Right. It's trying to
7790.
catch up and mirror Bob and Connie in in that 14-year period.
Right. Thanks to them, me deigning to retrieve them. But after 1990 is when we get into the new zone where we don't have that web problem. So of course, every decade has the previous decade as its content. So the
Right.
web becomes the content, the figure of the 90s, while lockdown Bob Rule gets manifested. But again, because it's a 77 to 90 period, anything that can be retrieved has to be part of the Bob Holy offices that were retrieved from 77 to 90.
And Arthur's getting closer all the
Oh,
time.
Arthur Lee.
All the time.
Arthur Lee. So now, if we want to jump, because in our previous tapes we talked about the role of Zappa and Garcia and Dylan in the middle, and the final punchline.
Well, let's finish kicking Lynch while he's down.
Right, yeah, we haven't finished, but the final punchline is 97. That's the end of the 7-year cycle. 90,
And the
97.
Renaissance.
Yeah, and
The Renaissance.
We're now in the hospitals, and good times are coming.
Right, that's right.
And we'll have a slight correction on the stock market, but it won't mean anything. Won't mean
It's
anything.
an adjustment. It's just an adjustment.
No, they have to take the money out so they can put it back in again.
Exactly.
Because they got nothing to work with.
I already applied to Switzerland.
Yeah, okay.
I called them.
Yeah, Bob McFarland.
I said,
Bud
my name's
McFarland.
Bernstein, and I played Doc Howell Blues in the background while I was asking for my money. I did.
Yeah, and you had Bud McFarland on the other line.
Oh, we can't even go into that.
He as a
You might be watching.
as a snooper.
Call
as a
me
snooper,
Bob.
Knew exactly where to
said,
go.
"Call me Bob."
And he was forced under
Jesus.
duress to say that.
Yes.
You know, he knew it. The preliminary. So, so what do you have in the end? What do you have in the?
What do we have in
the
the end?
last Holy Office
It's so
retrieval?
glorious
Yeah,
right now.
not even.
I
not
mean,
even-
do they
so
know,
what?
Bob? Do they know?
They will. They will, Tom.
Let's live. You know, let's live. You know,
Let's
simply,
live.
let's live.
July '94. That's right. Vanity Fair.
Oh.
The death issue.
Oh, man.
Okay, so the thing,
Only a person as eerily prescient as Randy Kopag would be hit to the death issue.
July 94 issue.
ending on the back, Randy, is very important. On the back has James Dean,
Yeah.
and it was rumored that Bob Dean was always asked.
Always,
when he was a kid,
yeah, sure.
And
And conga drums with Puerto Ricans.
Oh, yeah.
who was the
Eartha
Puerto
Kitt is probably
Rican-
dancing off to the right here.
Probably.
Who was the Puerto Rican I brought up earlier?
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Who
Yeah,
was that?
somebody was from-
Alfredo, the guy.
Oh, the jogger. Yes.
jogger.
Alfredo in Central Park. But the point is that anything I say about Bob Dean is only what I've been told, since I don't know much about it.
Yeah, I wish you'd stop that, too.
Why?
Because we know you know more about it
No.
than you've been told to say.
No, Blake knows more about
Okay.
it. Yeah. The interesting thing is that James Dean was what everybody used to ask little Bobby Dean if he was related to.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Good point.
Bob Dean? May I answer that?
They say he was born in 49.
49, yeah.
Because he was.
It goes back to the days of 49. He's 100 years after the first internet.
See,
The
that's.
fake land deeds.
See, I don't know. The beginning of Bob's Meat Ecology, where they have supposedly me saying, in 1959, when I was 10 years old,
I said, don't bring that into the house!
yeah, that would be Bob Dean in 1949. He's born in 49. He'd be 10 in 59.
Yeah.
So Neufeld told me later, since I had nothing to do with the album, that was me. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that was me. That was Bob Dean on tape, for God's sakes. And they put it in as me. It was just incredible. What art has ever been made like that?
Jeez.
And, okay, back to so
And it was even stolen, wasn't it?
yes.
Tom Touche had to steal it so people would know about it.
That's right. Tom Touche, my butler, had to.
Your
had to send
butler,
it.
yes.
He got Nelson going because he started to feel getting cut out after 1990.
That's right.
And he defected to Prince Charles and that. But I just want to say, we'll get into this later, but it's very interesting that, Let's Live. Dylan lives.
Yes.
The last gasp of the original Bob.
Yeah.
The idea, and of course, when I
You want to go Dylan already?
Not yet. No, let's go back.
Okay.
Let's go back to Lynch because we got. Many
Oh, we
hours.
got so much with Lynch.
Yeah, let's carry.
jeez.
So he did very good in bringing up the Blakean point and leading to this.
Oh, yeah.
But aren't you? You have to be amazed. Have you seen Lost Highway? No. Nobody's ever seen it.
No one's seen it, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, you'll be amazed that it does deal. Nobody in 1992.
It's the first good movie since Chinatown.
Right. And nobody knew in 90.
Is it on video yet?
I think it is,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
out.
well, then I'll-
Isn't everything on video?
Very
Well,
quickly.
Not everything.
They get out
Very
pretty.
quickly.
But an interesting thing is that Tom's appearance is somewhat reminiscent of the character that Blake played in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Was that by design?
That was by design.
Thank you.
You'll see a lot of Lynchian manifestations in what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Later on tape, you'll see them.
It's
Yes.
American noirism.
Because I'm trying to cover it with words so you don't really...
And you also
He's doing
aren't.
very well.
And he hasn't.
Thanks, Randy.
What'd you say?
I have a great director,
What'd you
that's
say?
why.
I said he's doing very well.
Yeah, and he.
With language.
Let's hope he doesn't have the diesel water too soon, because Tom will get out of control.
Live.
Where's my D-cell?
Yeah.
Jerry, I'm
Not yet.
thirsty.
What were we talking about? Good. Because I was going to say something. Oh, about the video Lost Highway.
Yeah, right.
In '92. In '90.
This is not D-cell, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, good.
What's diesel?
Yeah.
We
what is
can't
it?
go there yet,
Yeah.
Nancy.
But
But when we do, you'll lead the way.
Fuel for the living dead.
you see, here's.
Reviving.
Yes.
That's because I'm the oldest person.
You are?
No, I'm.
No, this guy's
I was
75.
born in 1990.
75.
When
You were
were
born
you
in 1990?
1919.
Oh.
Oh, you were born in 1990?
She's the reason for the New Deal.
Incredible.
Oh, man.
This is Connie.
I love the
coming through.
WPA.
The Connie vibe. It's Connie.
That's wonderful.
He's representing Congress.
What sign are you?
Libra.
Libra.
See?
Oh, so you got that Oswald kind of thing going for you. Bob, you better duck pretty soon.
Yeah.
You know?
Looking at him.
Well, ducks are in a lot of Lynch's paintings.
Yes, and also she's on you like a duck on a June bug.
Order here. The minutes are becoming too arcane.
Yeah.
Back-
Arcane.
Cover.
Duck and cover. Thank you. Thank you.
The
So what's with Lynch anyway?
Yeah.
What is really with Lynch? I say he's a bad filmmaker.
even
pure
though
and
he
simple.
baroques and digresses like a fractal, he does come up with the right point to continue.
Oh yeah, I think Lynch is really bad. What do you
I
think?
heard he's terrible for the actors.
Oh yeah, he just has his. Well, Bob was talking about the lab. It's just a lab experiment.
Yeah, they're not.
But then once he sees what he likes,
Yeah, he
it
keeps.
forces him to do it like robots and exactly.
Sure.
Exactly. That's why he has such short little.
Right.
The
clips.
scientists, the formula. They had to follow
Right.
the formula. It's not acting.
Exactly.
Right.
But speaking, like there are the bits that smack of improv.
The art out of their creation and give it back to him without the art.
He takes their
He waits to
life
see.
force
Yeah.
out of them, and it inspires him, and then he sees that as like paint.
Yeah.
And then
Ah.
he tells them, now I want you to do this exactly out of context with what they were doing
Yes.
before. And they're pissed off.
Yeah, they don't know why they're doing
They
it.
don't know why they're doing it.
Right.
And it's not acting like they've learned to act so that they have a reason for it. They become really like his paint.
Android
They
memes.
have no artist.
He's-
Run, paint, run.
He's a scientist disguised as a Manipian director.
Yeah, he's creating Frankenstein or something.
Yeah.
Mm.
Bob. He's creating Bob.
I have a
Bob
revelation.
Rebuilding Bob.
And what she said means that that all the accolades by the artists in the documentary is just propaganda.
It is propaganda, sure.
Well, Jesus.
Well, we're at that point of.
Now why Oliver Stone is trying to do him one better by his new...
Oh, thank you. This brings up a very good
Who's
point.
Albert Stone?
He's getting paid for it.
Oliver Stone.
Oh, Oliver. Oh, yeah.
This brings up a very good point because in all these guys, you have these baby boomers. We have this whole generation of people, Randy.
It was a U-turn.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I remember
On
where
the
I-
Lost Highway. And where do you go? It's a Mebius strip. You get back on the Lost Highway when you do
Oh,
a.
exactly.
you know.
He took a
And then you do the next U-turn, you come
on
back
the
around
Lost
again.
Highway doing a U-turn, and no wonder he titled
Right,
it that.
right.
Now we're back on track.
Right.
You want to continue, Bob?
Yeah. It's very important to look at the Baudrillard book called can't remember the title. It came out in '94.
XC. communication.
No.
Ecstasy of Communication.
The one he did, it's about the Cold War or something. Okay, we'll come up with the title.
Yeah.
It came out in '94. The cover of the book is the opening image of Lost Highway, the highway going into nowhere. That very image is is on the cover of Baudrillard's book. Something about the illusion of the end.
Oh,
Okay.
That's the title of the book, the illusion of the end.
Now we're on track.
Yeah. So Baudrillard, you got it.
But there again,
Yeah.
that image is everywhere.
That's right. Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, that image is everywhere. Robert Frank photos.
Yeah.
That image is everywhere. Robert Frank photos, Richard Brooks in Cold Blood. The Lost Highway is everywhere in American myth.
American Walk.
Yeah.
So but when you understand that the machine
That keening stretch of tarpaulin, as Kerouac would say about the Lost Highway. It's everywhere in American life.
Right.
So Lynch is doing nothing.
No. Not Lynch. The machines.
The machine, right? The one the artists like. The
machines
propaganda
make their
Lynch
movies.
machine.
The machines make their movies for themselves.
So the machines are still talking to themselves in a different mode now. They're also making things.
Right. The machines are making movies for themselves, and when they make a movie for the American machine, they formulistically play up the archetypes of the American machine.
Right, that's what I meant earlier.
itself.
When I said the really burnished, fine-tuned
Yeah.
postcards.
There's no human element in there. That's why to some people who still think they have bodies and minds, don't like culture today.
Oh, Jesus,
They don't
those
see the
first
human
naturers.
element. Yeah, the first nature.
Those first naturers.
Yeah, they
There ought to be a law. There ought to be a law. Wait, there is a law.
Probably is.
Yeah, there is a law. Apparently there's a big bounty on a lot of them.
What?
Man, there is a big bounty.
There must be a law.
Okay.
Yeah.
Police state now.
It's part of NAFTA now, I think. You got to knock off the first natures.
Probably the contract.
So Twin Peaks.
That's why they got Mexico in it. They said Canadians aren't good assassins. We got to have some South Americans involved.
Right. And in what? What
The,
movie?
the whole NAFTA knockoff move.
Oh yeah.
But here's the thing: you got these disgruntled baby boomers. What you have is a bunch of adolescents. You got Oliver Stone, David Lynch, Francis Ford
Dylan.
Coppola. No, Dylan's. No.
Tarantino, for God's sake.
Well, Tarantino doesn't even fit. You know, you got all these babies. All they are really
Don't see
pampered
Dylan?
babies.
You don't see Dylan's a
No, he
pampered
never
baby?
went to film school.
Oh, and only
He went to
film
the
media.
Lost Highway.
You're talking
He
film.
went like this
Yeah,
from,
yeah. You're
Minnesota
talking
to New
name
York.
the filmmakers again.
Would David Lynch hitchhike?
Name
Would
the
Oliver Stone
filmmakers
hitchhike?
again. Name the
Would
filmmakers.
Francis Ford Coppola hitchhike?
Okay. Right.
tired.
Okay. Right.
You know, we're talking about a bunch
Yeah, don't waste
we're talking about a
yourself.
bunch of babies.
Yes,
basically.
yeah.
They're all PO'd because the Wizard of Oz never came through. That's why the Wizard of Oz is in all their movies. You know, Willard goes up the river to see Kurtz, the Wizard of Oz. He's this
Yeah.
big bloated paper mache thing that doesn't tell him the truth. It's in all their work. Every movie is the Wizard of Oz.
We're here to see the
Lynch in
Well, that's what the
Blue Velvet, the original script. Dorothy goes up on a roof after the first time.
Yeah. With Dennis Hopper.
Kyle is in the closet looking at her.
Yeah.
He follows her out and up the fire escape. This is in the script and was in the movie. She goes up on the roof and clicks her heels together and looks at the sky.
You don't?
Which she later used in Wild at Heart, though. She clicks her heels together. So, you know, you got all these... Oliver Stone, another classic example.
Retrieval.
Yeah. Where's the
You know.
Wizard of Oz there? You know.
Okay, let's not talk about that. Martin Scorsese, Taxi Driver, Wizard of Oz. Travis Bickly's told, you got to talk to the wizard. He knows everything. You got to talk to the wizard. And who is it? That evil no-good SOB, Christopher Walken's friend, Peter Boyle, which you might want to talk about.
Yeah.
So the wizard is everywhere. All this stuff is everywhere with
Yeah.
these guys. No, Dylan's way beyond that. No, Dylan went back to the Impressionists.
Yes.
The real wizards. He went, you know,
Okay. Let me respond.
please.
First.
In terms of wizard represents advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just drop the OZ and you get it. You drop the O and you get FZ, Frank Zappa, with Munchkin music, and then
Oh, yeah, and Zappa has all the munchkins and things. Very good. I was going to bring that up, actually.
And Tommy Mars says that he could never pin Frank down to get Frank to admit the influence the movie had on him.
Oh,
He said he
okay.
would try to trick him, and Frank says, "Yeah, I think I saw the movie once." And so the point is, Frank is the most conscious filmmaker, scientist, artist, blah blah blah, predicting
Well,
Bob.
yeah.
And so he admits the Oz thing by having the Munchkins and metaphor all the way through, but he will not answer
And
the
hand
issue,
puppets.
because that's a key issue.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's that. And he always made movies for our ears. Frank always was a filmmaker. But I want to go back to Lynch and say in '92, when he'd finished the story of Bob, Twin Peaks, and he got smeared at the end of Twin Peaks because the
How many episodes were there? Do you know that?
it was a Bob number, 22 or something. You know, I
That
can't
few?
remember.
Really?
Hmm?
That few?
Well, it was.
What did it run? 2 seasons?
Yeah, I don't know, but it was the right number, whatever it was.
Oh, okay,
I don't have
okay.
that handy.
Oof.
It was many issues.
First time Bob got his pagination off.
Not the first time, Todd. First time for you to witness. Don't reveal your
I'm not even
virginity.
watching. Only they are watching.
Yeah, the virginity.
Sometime I'll show you my copy of Finnegan's Wake, which has not been paginated.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, that is the sight to behold. Continue.
Wow.
Continue, Bob.
Yeah, it's very
The
hard.
hell
to
with this? I want to go see that. I'm leaving.
I read out the page numbers on those.
And you can thank Mike Nesmith.
It's amazing how I've been trying for the last 22 minutes to get this statement out.
22.
Yeah,
That's the incorrect Bob number.
yeah, that's right.
The other number is the number you really need to know about,
The
Bob.
14?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. In 92, Lynch says in retrospect that was his darkest period, 92 to 94.
Because he broke up with Isabella?
That was part of it. No, because he started to get the Twin Peaks in the long run was considered a failure by the Pink Machines in New York.
So that's why he was bummed.
And what was it?
He was worried about the New York
No.
response.
And he went to New York and he made a 6-item TV series about TV in the 50s, which got canceled.
What was it?
He made a
Was it a comedy?
no, it was a weekly TV series
About a live TV show in the 50s?
Yeah, making a TV show in the 50s. Life in TV land in the 50s.
Who was in it, do you know?
Nobody's.
Nobody's?
Anyways, he got really smashed and it got canceled. And so that was the end of putting down Twin Peaks, and then that. So he was.
Well, he's doing the big music stuff, too, at the Knitting Factory.
Right.
He was doing a lot of Julie Cruz big music events, too.
How did they go over?
I don't know. He was
Yeah.
probably trying to mime Guambo.
So he.
Well, they were popular with who his stuff is popular with.
So the point is, in '92.
In other words, the kind of girls I try to pick up at art openings.
So in '92, he finished his Bob work, and since Bob didn't lock down Bob Rule in some levels in '92, but it took another 5 years to '97. There was one more project for Lynch to do, which was Lost Highway, and to get to the crux of the matter of the Bob Dean, Bob Dobbs issue, and to bring in the virtual reality level, which was in his movies from the beginning, the Eraserhead.
Well, you're discounting Wild at Heart, which came in that period.
Well, no,
That's kind of the-
Wild at Heart is 1990.
Is that 90?
Firewalk Me is just a replay of
When is Wild at Heart? Anybody know?
1990.
Is it 90?
Yeah.
Is that long ago?
Yeah.
Wow, that seems unusual to be that long ago.
And Wild at Heart is the life.
It's kind of the ending as Connie and Bob.
No, the whole thing. It's the life of Bob and Connie in the 50s and 60s when we
Right.
were in the Secret Council 10 and the vicious murdering we had to do. I remember the mother. They were mafia hitmen, the whole gang.
Oh,
of them.
sure, yeah.
Right. That's the world I lived in. Now to bring this back to
Oh, there's a lot of assassination stuff.
right, and so it's the life of Bob and Connie, and a great movie.
It's kind of Bob and Connie as Elvis and Anne Margaret as assassins.
No, it is literally Bob and Connie, the way we lived.
So you were
It's like
that.
when I was in Lancaster. Yeah, we were like that.
So you got really white trash, in other words.
Oh, yeah.
You really put that on.
We had to, but because we were infiltrating Parisians and infiltrating North America.
Well,
But
yeah.
So here's what happened: is in Lost Highway, Mr. Eddie, and I'm not able to go into the meaning of Eddie
Why?
for a while.
Yeah.
Well, I won't even tell you why. It just can't be done yet. But Mr. Eddie represents the Secret Council and 10 employers that Bob Dobbs worked for. The little kid, he comes in, he's intimidated by this guy. You know what I mean? He's controlled by this guy. That's Bob Dobbs through the 50s, 60s, 70s inside the Secret Council of 10.
Bob Dobbs is Mr. Eddie.
No, Mr. Eddie is, say,
Your contact man.
my boss.
from Langley.
My boss from the Secret Council, not Langley, Paris.
Was it David Atlee Phillips?
These are Parisians, and you would never know who they were. These are the Fondy that LaRouche talks about. Mr.
I know there were really Corsicans.
Yeah, Mr. Eddie is the Secret Council 10 people. If they did a mind control thing on me,
They did.
he was
Your mind conks out every once in a while.
Yeah, they did it, and he represents that. So what's interesting, since Lost Highway is a replay of the whole process of 77 and 90, Blake is in cahoots with Mr. Eddie.
In a sense.
Yeah, and then he turns on Eddie and works with Bill.
Sure.
I'm using the actor's name. I don't know what he was. His name in the-
Pullman.
Yeah, that's his actor's name. Well, I don't know. What was his name in the movie?
I think it was Bill.
Oh, okay. So good. So Bill, but he's Bill Pullman also.
Yeah.
See, there's where Lynch doesn't even change their names.
No, he doesn't need to
And
anymore.
the acting level is.
You don't need to
They don't
anymore.
have to act. You don't just be
I
yourself.
was going to call him Purple, but,
Information's obsolete.
That's right. I mean, it's what I did on TV show in August. say anything, feed me. That's all Lynch says. Just here you are. Just dance around and pretend you're in a movie. You know what I mean?
That was the little Bob of horrors.
Feed me, feed me.
Yeah. So Blake aligns
So
with
Mr.
Bob.
Eddie's the contact guy.
Okay, let's say Mr. Eddie is a very powerful guy, part of the solar government. All right.
Hey, he's like Marcelo Santos. No, actually, he's like the other guy, the big kingpin in New Orleans.
No, this is
in
1945.
Wild at Heart.
On my chart, it's 1945 to 1960.
Right.
This
But
is
I'm just trying to show the other parallel characters in Lynch movies.
Don't bring that up yet.
Okay.
1945 to 1960, Bob's on the chart. It's 47 to 57 in the chart. That's Bob and Connie, early years, doing the Wild at Heart stuff.
Oh, damn.
And
Don't go into the prostitution.
No. Yes, the
You
prostitution.
want to go into that?
That's in Lost Highway too.
Oh,
but anyways,
you're telling me.
Yeah. Now
Talk about a harlot's ghost.
Tom, let me finish a couple sentences here. All right, because from 47 to 57, you have Mr. Eddie is controlling Bob. Now, Blake is working with Mr. Eddie. Now that's the solar government period, 47 to 57.
Mm-hmm.
The building of the solar government. The meaning of Blake switching to Bill and dumping Eddie, right? Dumping Mr. Eddie at the end of Lost Highway, is the shifting to this universal lockdown universal government, the interdimensional. Now that is implied with the switching of personalities in 1966 of Bob Dobbs taking over Bob Dean and Connie Dobbs taking over Carolyn Wheeler. All right? That's in 66. That's during the universal government law stage. So the movie includes that phase, but it ends at that point. But it loops into the TV screen and it's all on tape, right? That is mythic government lockdown, which is technology. So Lynch has brought you up to the mythic government stage, where Blake is aligned with Bill, which would be Bob Marshall, Bob Neverett, but not Bob Dobbs. But he looks like Bob. He's a manipulator like Bob Dobbs, right? The Blake character.
And where does Rumpelstiltskin come in?
That's me explaining this. You know, I mean, Rumpelstiltskin is not in that movie. Now, where do you go from Lost Highway to the mythic stage level? You go to Twin Peaks, to the electric logo becoming alive. Machines become alive. So that is what Twin Peaks is about 77 to 90. But you see, Lynch had to go back and fill in the stages. So he had to go back and do Lost Highway and do Bob in the 50s and 60s. You see what I'm saying? So his movies are not chronologically made. The chronological order of the making of the movies is not the chronology that he's laying out.
Oh, sure, yeah.
You know,
The body of work has a
Right.
beginning, a middle, and an end, but they're not in that order.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure.
And the thing is that Lost Highway, though, represents a last gasp by Lynch, because he's finished with the Twin Peaks scenario. He's predicted that the 25-year thing, and that's 1990 to 2020. That's a 30-year period, but 25 is 2015. You're really going to see Lockdown Bob rule by 2015. That's really going to be obvious.
Oh,
you know,
boy.
25 years.
Yeah.
And he knows
Giving
he
them all
has to,
some slack there. You're carving a few years off.
What'd you say?
You're giving them all some slack.
Yeah.
They don't have to wait that long.
Yeah. So you see how Twin Peaks, he's finished. He's depressed. He doesn't know where to go, so he goes into the New York machine land. That doesn't work. He tries the alternative music world. That doesn't work. And so all he can do is say...
Painting. How about the painting world?
All he can do is go, Fire Walk with Me, which is the movie version of Twin Peaks, and he says, there's one element that I can develop, and that's, and you haven't seen it, but David Bowie comes into an early scene in Pittsburgh, where Warhol came from, okay? And
Bowie, the ultimate machine.
Right, and Pittsburgh, and Bowie comes into the Langley headquarters, whatever that that Dale Cooper's working for.
Right. FBI.
And Cooper watches it.
On video?
On video. He's watching the monitor of security.
How did I know that?
Because I told you this, maybe.
Oh.
And he goes...
But Pittsburgh is in the script, you see. We're following the script.
Yeah.
Oh, I need my other page.
Yeah.
Incidentally.
So
Could you wide it out for me, too? Before it gets to me.
Yes.
So
Because I want to use it in court.
Right. So before Bowie walks in, Cooper goes out and he looks at the monitor and he runs back into the security guard position. He looks and he's not on the image. And he runs back and he checks it. And he sees that the video camera is not picking him up. And so he says, look, there it is. And right at that point, Bowie walks in, who has been zapped into the Black Lodge earlier, like 5 years before. I don't know the exact time. But he has suddenly returned. and you see him flashing all these images in his mind. He's confused, and he is acting out what what's going to happen to Cooper later when he goes to Twin Peaks. So Bowie's already done it, and but that aspect of Cooper seeing that he's not on the image, okay? Because Cooper said when Lynch finished Firewalk with Me, the last scene, he suddenly knew what his next movie was. And you know what it was? It was dealing with the tape, the mythic stage, and the disappearance of identity of Bob Dobbs and Bob Dean and that whole issue. But it was already laid out in Firewalk with Me. And so Firewalk with
Bill even says in Lost Highway to the two cops that come to investigate at the beginning,
Yeah.
to investigate who's delivering the videos, he says, I don't like video. Remember that? And I took that to be Lynch's, I'm a Boy Scout, I still like film. And that's why he's messing with videos so much.
But it's the
That's you remember that very quiet, shady,
funny, the audience
elliptical
laughed.
dialogue. Yeah, the audience really liked that.
They
I think.
laugh at that
Or I
scene.
did.
But the interesting thing, as a director, you can see that the ubiquitous affects of the Cyclops of TV has altered his cinematic production.
Did you say ambiguous?
Ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous, yeah.
No, it's so omnipresent that he can't help but make films like TV, whereas the real film noir filmed down on Windward Avenue was Touch of Evil by Orson Welles with the long cut in the beginning, which was really the high point of cinematic film noir film. After that,
Might have been.
After that was ended,
Might have been.
instant replay video making films, ostensibly as films that actually are TV, as she pointed out,
Yeah.
the segmentation of the, manipulation of the actors and get a little bit, but no real essence.
But even in that, it's even Touch of Evil is a satire already on film noir. Wells hadn't worked in a while.
But that was the end.
He knew he had to do that script Badge of Evil, right? That Alfred Zugsmith gave me. He said, churn it out in 2 weeks. Just do it. We'll give you a job. And Heston had to fight to keep him on the set every day.
But to contrast,
So that was a joke.
processes, actually film, even though these say Lynch was quoted as saying he doesn't like video, he's making nothing but TV presentation.
Yeah,
For theater
Seinfeld.
or otherwise.
Seinfeld.
So it's unconscious. That's why the uncertainty principle of Bob's recapitulation is so insightful and valuable now. Would you like to respond?
I will respond.
Me or Bob?
No, I will. Did you want to say something?
I'm paying for this microphone.
I was just thinking of the one we liked. What was the 50?
That was Reagan in New Hampshire.
Symphony,
Do you remember that?
Symphony number 2.
50
Industrial
number
Symphony number 2.
Who made that?
Lynch?
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Is
if
it
I
any
saw
good?
Oh, it's wonderful.
What is it?
I don't know.
Is it a music documentary kind of thing?
It's kind of a music.
It's a art
Julie
piece.
Cruz.
It's
Julie Cruz.
It's a little art piece.
See, Julie Cruz is the best thing about Lynch to me.
Dwarfs and,
Dwarfs?
cars and sex and dwarfs on a
Oh yeah, the usual stuff. Puke, cockroaches, big ears.
Oh, and
Big
the
ears.
music and the singer and it goes.
Oh, the ear. Well, you haven't even talked about the ears.
Weirdness, in other words.
It's
How-
kind of strange, but it's really interesting and it's very intriguing. And
How about the
fun to
ears?
just watch.
Okay.
I wondered if you'd seen it because
No.
I don't think I've
Hadn't
seen
seen
it.
I
it.
never tried to put any meaning in
Well, you can. I mean, I'm the only one who can put the meaning in it.
it. Yeah, I know. That's why I was asking if you'd seen
Okay.
it so you could tell
It
me.
is. It's entertaining.
You mean
See-
the meaning beyond what I bring to it? What
Right. The meaning for the machines.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm analyzing, telling you the meaning for the machines and why they made it.
Right.
Yeah, not your personal user's content. That's irrelevant now.
So you're going to answer Randy's
Yes, I ran
ubiquitous
this- yeah.
omnipresent, excuse
Yeah.
me.
But video.
You're omnipotent, and the recapitulation.
Yeah. The Lynch's allergy is the video screen, which is what Bob is. It's on
His
the chart.
allergy.
His allergy. Yeah, is the video screen.
Here comes the homeopathic bit.
And
Here that comes.
the holeopathic.
There he goes again with it. There he goes with that homeopathic there.
You know what Reagan said to Mary McLuhan when he saw her getting in the White House? And she's with her tour guide, and he's already met her. And Reagan comes around the White House and sees her again, and he says to his aides, "There goes Global Village again." That's what he said. That's the exact truth.
And Nancy said, "There goes the global village. They're moving in next door. There
So-
goes the whole village."
Yeah, so so that's Mary McLuhan's anecdote if you want to check with her. So the TV screen is Bob, the electric thing. Lynch is wrestling with it. That's his allergy. That's why he has the guy say, "I hate video." But that irritant, which creates art, is what makes Lynch, that problem he has, is a painter and photographer. This new medium that makes him obsolete, that kills him. That problem is what he works out and then accidentally explains Bob being the TV screen.
Oh yeah, everybody is.
Yeah. So I just want
The only cure for it is to do TV. See, everybody walks around like
up
TVs.
till 1990. We don't.
Everybody
need to
walks
do-
around like TVs.
Yeah.
Jerry isn't even going to watch you. He's only watching you on the
He only
screen.
watches-
Right. Well, I look much better on the screen.
Yeah, actually.
Just like when the people disappear from the video screen in Lynch, or like Diane Ladd disappears from the picture frame
Yeah.
in Wild at Heart.
Yeah.
A lot of people look better when they disappear.
Right. And Lyndon LaRouche says today, some guy has an accident, gets in a bike accident. He'll get home with his cast on, and he'll turn on the TV to
Ooh, with
see
his-
if it happened.
With his cast on, too. With his cast on.
Yeah, yeah. This is what LaRouche
Yes.
says. So,
video cam film it, or footage at 11.
Yes.
yes. So,
What would McLuhan say to that?
Oh, I heard a great one the other day. May I share
no,
this
but
real quick?
no.
This
She
is-
said something.
This will answer
We've
that
got to-
question, then.
No, I want to see what she means by the question. What do you?
Well, I mean, I was
did he
thinking-
mean by what?
What McLuhan said would happen to the guy. Okay, well, I mean, what LaRouche said would
Yeah.
happen to the guy. What would McLuhan say if he was commenting on the same thing? What do you think?
Well, LaRouche was complaining about television,
Right.
the media takeover. McLuhan would emphasize the good thing about TV, which comes to the important point. Randy should hear this. Where did Randy go? What? Randy!
See, I think McLuhan would say, I wish I had thought of that.
Yeah,
You know.
No, he wouldn't.
Oh, yeah. 'cause
See, because
Catholic.
McLuhan acted.
Competitive.
No, McLuhan pretended he was schizophrenic. So if someone emphasized the negative, he'd mention the positive. If someone mentioned the positive, he'd mention the negative. But he was indifferent to both because he knew everything disappeared. So, and Randy, I want to say this, is that the log lady, when you get the video of Twin Peaks, the video of it, the after it was originally shown, Lynch has added the log lady giving little sermons before each segment. And the log lady says in it, at one point, her little sermons, which usually relate to that particular episode, she says, "We are not one until we are everywhere." Now that's the TV screen, and that includes all dimensions. So that Bob is everywhere. Twin Peaks, he's interdimensional. He can come from the astral plane and rape Laura Palmer. He's an android meme. You know what I mean? He's something that's both physical and astral. Because you see
It might be a sop to the audience to get more hippies to watch. I mean, we're not one unless we are everywhere.
No, that would be...
That sounds like something Diana or John Denver would have said before they died.
But see, you're assuming there are people. It would only
Well,
be...
you're imputing David Lynch's message to the machines.
Right. It's
Are we talking about him as auteur, or are we talking about the machines talking to each
the
other?
machines talking to each other. And
Then
Lynch,
why are we talking about Lynch?
George Orwell's Cyclones.
Why are we talking about Lynch?
because Lynch is a machine.
But what are we talking about?
About his language and how it predicts me. The
Only in Lost Highway.
all the films. Eraserhead. That's about Bob in the 50s and 60s. He's always making the same film.
So then you could explain to me about the piece of wood.
In which movie?
Eraser.
What
A piece of wood?
Yeah, what was
Left with a piece of wood.
Oh, yeah, that is the if you look at my chart, you get the 4 alchemical elements: earth, fire, air, water. But if you go Oriental, go Asian, you bring in the other elements, metal and wood. So the reason Eraserhead is sleeping with wood, and why Woody Allen had McLuhan in his movie, Woody Allen, and Zelig, very important movie, is wood represents the Asian Oriental herbs that are going to be necessary for the medical modality that Connie makes. In other words, the 4 elements of the West are not as complete as the 5 elements of Asia. You see? So I would say that is an unconscious reference to the Asian alchemy.
Why would the machines be interested in predicting salvation of the humans?
They aren't.
Well, the wood is bringing in the medical modality now, which is for us.
No, this is a movie about Bob and Connie. Remember? Bob and Connie overcome the machines. So it's the unconscious of Lynch machine predicting the Connie effect. See, there's good news in the Bob.
Oh! You're telling me.
Yeah, there's good news in these movies.
I wouldn't think that the machines would be predicting good news.
No, they wouldn't.
But unconsciously.
Yeah, the machines don't know that they're working for Bob. That's the glorious breakthrough.
Well, this is the question I have just for clarification. How do you distinguish between Bob, quote-unquote Bob, and Bob Dobbs?
I wouldn't make a distinction unless I was among machines. But I am among machines, so I can make the distinction.
Wouldn't the wood just, like for a racer head, just be like the body, would represent the body for the pencil of the racer? With the eraser head, the wood body.
Yeah,
that would be the anthropomorphic. For the machines, the wood would be symbolizing
First
the body.
nature. First nature.
First nature
Right.
for the body.
What they're up against. Because they want to take over first
They're
nature.
up against the wood.
Yeah.
Right? The tree huggers, the first nature.
Right. And what is always a theme in Lynch's work is the fire.
Oh,
The burning
Can
of
you
the
zoom?
wood.
Right.
What?
Can you zoom?
At
It's
you?
a Marlboro.
Yeah, at you.
There's like what, 10 of those, 10 close-ups of a Marlboro.
Yeah. No, the
Cherry
burn-
Ember in Wild at Heart.
Is that how you pay for all this?
With what? Yeah, R.J. Reynolds.
Stuff with the Marlboro?
R.J. Reynolds. They're behind the Secret Council.
So in Finnegan's Wake, there's the great line, "A burning wood that come to Dansanane." The burning woods come to Dansanane. That's the dancing midget, in the Black Lodge. It's the burning wood. The fire is the beginning of Wild at Heart. It's the end.
Oh,
of
there's
Wild at
fire
Heart.
everywhere.
Yeah, the fire of Blake and his place out in the desert at the end of Lost Highway.
Yeah,
So that is
yeah.
wood burning. Now, what is fire? Is the electric environment, which tries to consume first nature. But let's go back to his point.
Yeah, Laura Dern says the sun is going to come up some morning and burn through us all. No, burn through the world like an electrical X-ray. Remember that
see?
line?
What a
Like an electrical X-ray.
And there's Lynch expressing exactly formalistically what one has to say.
Yeah.
One has to say that statement.
Yeah, Benedictine monks slept on wood pillows, and so did the soldiers in Slaughterhouse 5. It was common requisition with the Fifth Army that was at the Battle of the Bulge. They had little wooden pillows with an headrest thing in it. So it's very old.
Yeah.
Very old.
And I'm glad you bring up Slaughterhouse 5 because that movie is about Bob's relationship with the Evergreens.
Oh, the book.
No, the movie. The
Really?
movie, Bob.
The movie.
Slaughterhouse 5, as it's presented as
Not a
an
very
image.
good movie.
Doesn't matter. It's the idea. I mean, you bring anthropomorphic value.
Yeah, I have to do that
Yeah,
aesthetic
yeah.
thing.
The machines think it's great. The machines love that movie.
Oh, it pisses off the machines though when I bring in the aesthetic.
The
You
anesthetic.
gotta mess with them. The aesthetic.
Well, that's what I've done.
You
telling
gotta
me,
mess
you're
with
telling
the
me
machines.
that's what I mess with.
Well,
all
don't
this
point
shit.
out the machines I'm messing with
You
them.
notice if I come
It
around.
only really annoys them when they find out later.
We're coming back to
Yeah.
the man who runs everything.
Yeah, Scott, what you want to know how to distinguish between Bob and Bob Dobbs?
Does anybody else want to know that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
See, the guy behind it all knows what you all want to
My
know.
desires to know.
He's directing your desires. Wow. It's all fear and desire.
see,
But
Bob.
not with Lynch.
No, you got to stop for a while. Okay.
Why? I haven't said anything yet.
That's right.
He's getting mad.
Yeah, no, it's
He's
just
acting like a machine now.
no.
I've pissed off the machine.
See, wait,
Things might grind to a halt.
no, they won't grind to a halt. You have to stop for.
When machines begin thinking for themselves.
What's the first part of your sentence?
That's what humanity is concerned about at this time, when machines are thinking for themselves and perhaps becoming like Hal.
Real actor.
And you know what Hal did in 2001.
He'll sing off key.
So exactly.
So the Bob Dean, when he was a kid, the one kid he hated in the neighborhood was a guy named Tommy Scott. All right, spoiled little brat. So you got Tom Scott here, Tommy Scott.
And he invented West Coast Fusac, too. Another reason, you see, you hated him for a good reason early on.
Yes, yeah, Fusac.
My name is not really Tom.
Humor is a good
No.
diffuser.
His name is not really Scott.
Right, but this machine sees it as
Differently.
that, and so
Ooh, Dylan says on the new CD, I see everything different now. Everything is farther away.
because everything disappeared.
Oh, no, he doesn't say. He says, I've got new
Oh, no,
eyes.
he doesn't say that.
He says, I've got new eyes.
New eyes?
Everything looks farther away.
Stole that from Gallagher.
The guy with the watermelon.
Yeah.
Who's Gallagher?
The guy with the
Smashes
watermelon.
the watermelons.
Where?
Vegas, probably.
So when did Gallagher say that?
Gallagher used to say it on
When
his,
did he used to say what?
on his show.
I've got new eyes. Everything looks farther
You have
away.
to Get new eyes.
He said, "Get
all
new
the time,
eyes."
Get new eyes. I've got new eyes. You got to get new eyes.
Well, Dylan loves that stuff. Didn't Dylan do the whole appropriation of "You can call me Timmy, you can call me Zimmy"?
You can call me RJ, you can call me...
Sure, it's Empire Burlesque,
We're
baby.
getting off the subject.
Yeah.
No, this is all the subject.
It's a subject. The point. It's all the subject, but Tom doesn't give me a chance to explain how it's the subject.
No, that's extremely pertinent because the whole point of this whole operation, Tom,
I'm right with you, baby.
I'm not with you.
I'm with you and the machine.
is refine tuning.
Yeah.
Fine-tuning the perceptions of
Refracting.
getting new eyes, so you can tell them. Now, Dylan's with the new eyes. I mean, I haven't.
Oh, he's got it down.
You think so?
Oh, he's got it
He's
down
got
on the
rap
new
down
one.
About it, but does he have it
Well,
down?
I don't know.
No, he's got it down on
Only
the new
Bob
one.
can tell.
Yeah, only I can tell.
That's
Part 2 of this.
No, you got to hear Time Out of
Until
Mind.
Bob hears it.
Yes.
No, it's called Time Out of Mind.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but here, let me explain that.
Okay.
When Dave Worcester,
Which is the flip side of mind out of time.
Tell him.
It sure is.
Tell him, Jerome. Continue, Bob.
yeah, when Bob Dobbs had his first channeling from cosmic awareness, the amulet symbol that cosmic awareness signed Bob Dobbs was the symbol for time and eternity. So time out of mind. Time is Bob, all right? That's a symbol, according to the Holy Office of Cosmic Awareness. Out of mind, mind is the skull, exposed, broken, electric environment. When time is out of electric input, the electric nature controlling things, that Bob energy, when time Bob is out of, run down from the electric phase from 60 to 90, then you're into a new world where you see with new eyes. So he's describing the effective lockdown Bob rule. Time out of mind.
And she didn't
Why is
know-
Bob run down?
And she didn't even know she was contributing to the dialogue, but it was part of the script. So continue, Bob.
I'm just going by what you gave me.
Right.
Well, you were supposed to be a fall guy at that point.
I'm supposed to be a
Fall guy.
or a straight man. Just for that moment, though.
Yeah, just for that moment.
fall guy.
You're going to enter into your dissonance in a few more moments.
Now you're saying, why is Bob?
Oh, you're going to hear how resonant this
Yeah.
all is
So you're
later.
helping to answer-
Only later in time.
Yes. Now this relates to Scott's question. You said the important words. Why is Bob run down? Didn't you just say something like that?
I just said that.
Yeah.
That very thing.
Bob runs down in 1990 when Connie takes over. Okay? As long as Connie, it was before 1990, of Bob raping the hell out of Connie, Laura Palmer. You know what I mean? So Connie takes over, expressing the breakthrough of the fusion of first and second nature with her medical modality, paralleled by the macro version via cold fusion of the fusion of first and second nature. So therefore, what's the difference between Bob and Bob Dobbs? Bob Dobbs is the guy who runs down in 1990, but Bob, who was forever with Connie, goes on. All right? So that's why the chart breaks down the parts of Bob, or the parts that are seem to indicate fragments. Because anachrony is separateness. Rai come back as a fragment and violating the unity, the oneness. Because when the log lady says we're everywhere, only when we're all one. We're all one by 1967. So then the holy offices do fake separateness and tantrums. Those tantrums are manifested by the various media, radio, computer, television, satellite, and those fragments are echoes of Bob Dean, Bob Marshall, Bob Neverett, Bob Dobbs, and Rumpelstiltskin. So the only common denominator is Bob. That's why it's called Xenocronous Bob's tiny note at the top. There's no second name after Bob. Xenocronous Bob, right? Because Bob is the original syllable. Which quote is on the album? Bob contains all things. Now Bob is 19.
Bob Dobbs becomes one of the 4 or 5 subsets of
Right.
Bob.
Now,
So how is it that Bob Dobbs is able to comment on Bob?
because the Bob that is continuous, his real name is Dobbs. That's the name of the family he was born into. But there is the fragmented version of Bob Dobbs, which you get through the media, through the Stang version or the Thal version, or even when you see Bob himself. The whole Bob is what you see in person. You see what I'm saying? And that whole person was
So
born...
Who am I addressing, Bob or Bob Dobbs?
You are addressing Bob Dobbs, but not the the media version of Bob Dobbs. The media version of Bob Dobbs will be when you watch the video, because he's been translated through that fragment. But you are having the interpersonal relationship with Bob Dobbs. With Bob. But Bob Dobbs was born in 1922. That's a physical fact. And he's married to Connie Dobbs. Those are physical people. But there's not many people in the world who've had physical interaction with Bob since he became a public personality in '87. You know what I mean? There are many people who have interacted with Bob and Connie before that, as expressed in Wild Heart, and they were
boy.
vicious people.
What a gallery of
I was
grotesques.
vicious.
Boy, you had some rough times back there.
Bob Dean was born in 49.
That's what I don't know, Bob.
We've heard that.
Now, I
Yeah,
thought-
that's what we've heard.
I thought that was Bob Dean's body taken over by Bob Dobbs.
That's right.
You sort of said that
No, but that's
about 22 minutes ago.
Yeah, and it's in Fatty Communion. It's in the memo written.
Right, sure.
Written in
How did they take it
1990.
over? MK Ultra?
Now we're getting to the crux.
We're
of the
getting to
matter.
the beginning.
Yeah, we're
getting to the
beginning.
Guambo
Right.
motorcycle accident.
Another 3 hours still coming.
Oh yeah, you guys got to order out.
Yeah.
Order out.
No, this is good. We finally got to the crux of the question.
That's right.
What happened in '66? How come Bob?
Well, we've explained that before.
Yeah. Yet Bob explains it in the memo that he took over Bob Dean.
Right. This is where Randy edits in some footage from the other one.
Right. Now the point is, I've always admitted that. See, I wrote that.
You got to pay me first.
I wrote that memo in 1990. That's when Bob kind of runs.
You were
out.
run down.
Run down. Finished.
Entropy.
Work is done. Right.
Entropy.
Yeah, okay, entropy, but it's not the end because it's good news. We get into the fusion.
Well, we sort of established that entropy, the reason why all these guys from the think tanks like Pynchon, from Boeing Aircraft and Cornell and all that East Coast Ivy League CIA crap,
Yeah.
why his assignment was to put entropy out there as this great
Yes.
thing that all the punks and the burned out hippies picked up on. Yeah, it's the third law of thermodynamics.
Yeah.
I see a analogy to our society. It's running down. There's no new input. See, that was just a cover story for the new revival.
That's right.
Zentropy.
Bob
We are here now.
Comes Rumpelstiltskin.
Right.
Now Rumpelstiltskin awake.
Why do you think Bob and I were so excited in the other video 3 years ago? Because we were excited about it.
2 years ago.
To me, well, I can't tell you what I've been through in that time, is because we were on the verge of announcing it. But now we're run down because we've been running around all over the place announcing it. Why do you think he keeps telling me to shut up? The energy, you see, the stamina that is Bob, the Alfredo Jogger 1975 CBGBs.
Bring me
One of the subsets is still
Bring
run
me the head of
down.
Mr. Eraser.
One of the particles, one of the subsets is still run down.
Is
So here he is offering this therapeutic abortion to everyone. There's still a part of Bob, some chip, somewhere, that is still run down.
right, and we're talking about how
Because
Lynch.
you know, he's miming himself. The old Bob would have said, please, I gotta finish that sentence.
Yes, and I will continue.
Who was he emulating?
I will get violent.
He got violent with Connie, believe him.
Yeah, and I will get violent with you. If
It's
you
a
don't let
knee-jerk
me-
thing from the assassination days.
If you don't let me say a few things,
It's
here.
the male thing. It's the radio.
He's gonna pull a
We've been
Mark
talk-
Seidel and long goodbye and a Coke bottle on.
If this is a meeting and you're Joe Pesci like in Goodfellas, you get shot, remember? Because he goes
Oh,
to
I
the
always
fucking
get
meeting and
shot.
there's nobody there.
That's no thing.
And he goes, oh, fuck. And they blow him
That's
away.
no
Oh,
thing.
Good shot.
Anyways,
Jesus.
yeah. So the thing is that this relates to the fact I'm talking about Lynch's run down in 92.
Oof.
So he goes back to the last little chip that's left before it obliterates, and he does Lost Highway.
But I thought he had a mathematical formula. He would know what years he's run down. And
No, he's-
also, seemingly, he knew what years to talk about each part of the Bob story.
But it's 1992, 2 years after lockdown.
When did he develop that, anyway? The
Develop
mathematical formula. How old? What age was he? Where did he develop it? AFI when he got a grant? Where did it come in?
You don't let me answer.
I'm wondering. I'm
Shut up,
layering
let
the
me answer.
question.
Yeah, let me answer.
Shut up!
Yeah.
Shut up!
He's talking to him.
Shut up!
I'm pointing over there because I just saw the documentary a couple hours ago.
Machines never shut up.
I just saw
Documentary that's pointed out.
it's pointed out in 1967 when Mariah returned to Essence, he made his first little doodad,
Yeah.
his little film. So it happened. He started in '67.
In Boston.
It was a horror movie.
In Boston.
Billy.
It was a horror movie.
Well, if you had Peter Wolf as your roommate in college, you'd make a horror movie too.
But it's the
They're
best.
all horror movies, but actually we did.
Starts in '67.
Yeah, Jay Giles, Peter Wolf, they were roommates.
With David Lynch.
Yes.
Okay.
And look what happened to Peter Wolf.
say it.
Who disappeared him?
Just shut up.
No, who disappeared Peter Wolf?
No, he's still doing
He was a very big guy. He was married to Faye Dunaway.
That's right.
You have to be.
What happened to him?
He's still
Hanging out with Lynch.
He's still doing
What's going to happen to
Jimmy
Bobby
Court.
Martin?
Really.
Devil Sybil Shepherd.
They already have kids.
So
Anyway.
in '67, see, I'm always on track, despite these Baroque fractal spirals.
I'm not worried about
Yeah,
that.
that's why you're still alive.
I'm worried about Lynch being on
Right.
track.
He's right on track because in 1967 he begins. 25 years later, 1992,
He runs down.
he runs down. 20. There's the 25.
The little train that couldn't.
Yeah. He predicts it in Twin Peaks. He hits Cooper 25 years later and meets Laura, who is Connie. know what I mean?
Okay.
2 years into Lockdown Bob rule, you have the beginning of regeneration, reappearance with success. All right, Bucky Fuller's success principle. Therefore, all the holy offices start to die because they only make it to 1990. Now we're coming up to 93 when you have Garrett, Dean, Zappa, Sun Ra, many holy offices die. Right? Lynch is acting that out. He's dead from 92 to 94. He is spent. And he only has one thing to do, to make a movie about the faction, the mystery of Bob Dean and Bob Dobbs. And that's the final movie. And then now he's finished.
No, you say the final movie.
Yeah. So, but he had to go back. It had already been implied in Firewalk with Me with Dave Bowie coming out and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, we come back to your question about Bob. Yeah, we got to the crux. We got to the beginning, which was what happened in July '66 when Bob Dobbs took over Bob Dean. Now, Bob Dobbs is writing in 1990. He now can see what had happened from 1944 when he met Connie up to 1990. So he points out that Bob Dobbs took over Bob Dean. But he didn't know that at the time, in '66 when it happened. But he's beginning to write about it in '90 after everything has disappeared and success has arrived. He can begin to wake up to what happened to him, how Mr. Eddie worked him over.
Okay.
Yeah, Finnegan's Wake Up. So,
shut up.
And that's the point. This is like one of the last topics. One of the last topics. And that's why it's Lynch's last film.
Okay, so you're talking about Mr. Eddie and Lost Highway being the contact, and Bob and Connie are the Lula and the Sailor, right?
Yeah.
So who's the contact in Wild at Heart? That will give more emphasis and definition as to who was contacting them.
The blonde
taking them over.
The blonde mother.
Yeah?
Yeah. She's the mafia mall, She's the one who's killing everybody and organizing it. You have the person in metal. What's her who? Was she an Arquette?
Which one?
The assassin who is pretty.
Is it everybody?
An archetype.
No, it's very.
There's only Rosanna.
I think it's Rossellini, maybe. Oh,
in which movie?
Yeah, it was his wife, Rossellini. In
Wild at Heart.
In Wild at Heart, they go to what becomes Blake's scene, the little cabin out in the desert. So remember they go out to get her, and she's got braces on,
sure,
leg braces.
Yeah, it's anticipating David Cronenberg.
Yeah, she's an assassin, right? And so they go out to the lonely place out in the desert.
Right.
She
Big Tuna.
Yeah, she is kind of like she's like the William Blake character in Wild at Heart. If you see Mr. Eddie as the blonde mother in Wild at Heart.
Yeah, and she just goes away.
Yeah, like Mr. Eddie does.
And her name is Perdita, which is the feminine of Lost.
Yeah, Lost Highway. So the highway.
Perdita was a great Charlie Parker.
Now we're getting.
Perdita is the female Lost, and Lost Highway is the male Lost. Now tell me to shut up.
Yeah, because I'm going to explain that.
Told me to shut up.
Oh, that was a joke, though.
Yeah. Rai got lost, JFK. ISIS got lost, Lady Di. Okay? This is the thing. That's why it's about Connie Lost Highway.
Okay, so we have the feminine and the male lost.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a movie coming where both of them get lost together.
No, that'll only be if he appreciates where we've suggested to make a U-turn to get back on the right track.
Yeah.
We're talking about only if Lynch appreciates.
Yeah.
Right.
If
We've already established he's not important
in this
context.
Let me answer this, Tom. Yes, no, that's a very important point because
he
let me answer. Let me tell you. When Lynch appreciates, he will then make a new career movie about and have me and Connie in it, and it'll be about our lives.
That's what I just said.
And have a lot of footage.
The male and female getting lost together.
No, it'll be post 1990. He will be.
He'll have a revived career.
He'll make the advertisement. He'll be just be an advertiser, a commercial. Make the commercial for the story, the biography of Bob and Connie. Probably the actual making of the thing is this kind of footage.
He will just be giving you his audience.
That's right.
I predict he'll produce it.
Yes,
and he'll farm it out to his daughter maybe to direct.
Yeah, because it'll emphasize Connie, and so it would have to be a woman director.
Boxing Bob and Connie.
It'll be about Connie. It'll be about the medical.
He'll put you in the box, the video.
Yeah.
Boxing Elena was just a metaphor about TV.
Yeah, his resurrecting.
Yeah, the feminine power, which is so that in that sense is why Bob is always working for Connie. I mean, that's why you have
after 90.
Oh no, always was working for Connie because the electric age.
Even when you're raping her, you're working for her.
Yeah, because the electric.
Oh man, what a justification!
You're not letting me respond. The electric environment is right hemisphere. That's feminine. So the whole 20th century has been ruled by the feminine. Now, when it all disappeared in '67, when Rai went back to essence and ISIS went back to essence, the 20th century's been an after-image of the 19th century. So all you can have from '67 to '97 is "She's Leaving Home," the Beatles song, and you have all marketing, as Zappa says, for Debbie. All right, the little 14-year-old whose father is a union member. So ISIS rules. That's why Kennedy dies before '67. That's Rai dying before '67. But ISIS rules from '67 to '97, and every male machine has had to deal with that for the last 30 years. All right, but it's the last gasp of the complementary aspect of Rai, which is ISIS. Rai and ISIS are yin yang, go together. So ISIS is going to go down. But it takes her 30 years, and that's a distillation from '67 to '97 of the 20th century, which is a after-image of the machine-inventing, male-principled 19th century. You see, so ISIS is Connie. So Connie rules. That's why the chart is Connie's looking at the chart, the path from 60 to 90, which is the lockdown Bob rule period, and it's Connie's view of it. Do you know what I mean? That's where.
Yeah, but as it relates to Lynch, the only ISIS-type female in Lynch is the Laura Dern in Blue Velvet. She's the only one that leads the action. Lynch, has the usual gallery of females, much like Scorsese.
No.
Or
it's always around
Oliver Stone.
It's always around the woman.
The hysterical. No, well, there's not the soulful performance. The soulful ISIS.
Oh,
Laura Dern's the only one in his entire.
No, but there you're putting
oeuvre.
This is a machine, a female machine.
No, it's aesthetic.
Female. What's aesthetic mean? When you say it's aesthetic,
appreciative of its resonance, as something created to create a feeling in you.
Are you speaking as a machine or a person?
I'm speaking. I'm talking already just ahead of the retrieval, when Bob and Connie get together.
Are you speaking
out of male
as a
and
machine
female?
Or person?
You see, out of male and female will come.
As a machine or person? I just want to know.
I'm answering it, but you're not letting me finish.
No, I just want a yes or a statement. Machine or person? What are you speaking as?
The child of when Bob and Connie come together, when the male and female finally create an aesthetic. You're still hung up on Lynch, thinking that he's actually.
Like person to me.
Yeah, he's speaking like a person. So since you didn't answer it, we'll answer it for you. So see, the thing is, remember that.
But it's a person that doesn't yet exist.
No, Connie exists. There's a confusion here.
It's a time out of mind.
Connie's a machine. Connie is a fucking machine, all right? And
I'm not talking about Connie. I'm talking about ISIS, the ISIS principle.
So ISIS
Lynch.
is a machine. ISIS is a machine. She's a female machine. So I'm trying to say that.
But are you talking as a person or a machine?
I'm always
ISIS, the ISIS myth.
I'm talking
has a resonance beyond machines to what we call people.
I'm talking about the merger of the anthropomorphic, personal, and the machine, which is android meme. That's what I'm talking as.
But the ISIS principle is no resonance beyond the machine.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's right. No, remember, it goes down in '67, but you have the after image of it for 30 years. The female machine. See, Connie is not ISIS, but the machines.
I never said she was.
Right. Though maybe they don't follow this. So the Connie and Bob are Rai and ISIS, but the images of that are machines because they're the only actors in the global theater under satellite conditions. So. Every movie, every one of Lynch's movies revolves around, since he started in '67...
That dialectic.
No. Since he started in '67, it has to be ISIS as the ground. In every one of his movies, the woman is the ground. Eraserhead is the mother. When he comes up, when Eraserhead, Jack Nance, comes up to the place, and he goes, "Why don't you ever invite me over to dinner? Why don't you ever see me?" He's appealing to ISIS up in the room. And then ISIS comes in and then presents him with the baby. So ISIS rules there. What is the next one? Elephant Man. Is there any woman in Elephant Man? No, because it's the 19th century. That's his little concession to Rai land, right? Then you come to Dune is ridiculous. He doesn't know what he's doing there. And then that's where his confusion was. He thought, that's when he found out he was working for machines, when he had to do Dune. And he had to adapt it to machines. That's where Lynch went through his own apocalypse, right?
Maybe.
Yeah. So then after that,
I think it has more to do with his fixation on insects, especially the bird devouring the worm at the end of Blue Velvet.
If you look at my
the
chart,
giant worms in Dune suddenly become not the cinematic worm, but the simple, tiny video idea of insects.
Blue velvet is when he
You know?
begins to understand.
It's a photographically
now let me-
beautiful little
yeah,
worm.
I got it. So blue velvet is when he gets over that problem and he understands what he's doing. And all media are insects. That's B first, ant, man, bee. Ant is 19th century, man is in the interval, and bee is the electric age.
Mm-hmm.
All right, ant is male Rai, bee is Isis. So yeah, of course it's all insects. That's a metaphor for machine language. That's Burroughs' theme. That's every science fiction theme is the insect theme. It
The
was
soft machine is an insect.
and that's a retrieval of
horrible.
Wyndham Lewis and the guys in 1914
Sure.
and 1918. So,
But you're missing the point of his cinema, which is an important thing to do anyway, since he's a very unimportant filmmaker. But you see, the whole point is the female is the male's projection. What's the witch? What's the witch
Right.
that reclaims him?
okay, I will continue.
What's
So-
the Isabella Rossellini?
That's-
He's not going to answer you.
No, I'm answering. So once he gets out of the Dune confusion, he continues with the ISIS
The
principle.
women are of no importance in Lynch. They're all the male projections. His machine male thing is still stuck from the time the bullets hit Kennedy. He is still down, baby,
Right.
with Rai.
Now,
Lynch.
now I'll answer that. Movie,
Yeah, there's no way you can say he has anything to do with ISIS.
movie is a male medium, hot medium. So therefore, because
Lillian Gish was the first movie star.
no,
So it's
the
not.
medium.
It's
That's
not
content.
really.
That's content.
No, she was a producer.
Tom, you're being ornery.
No, Lillian Gish was a producer.
Yeah,
She started the thing, the medium,
she didn't start it.
mechanically.
No, she didn't start.
She
it.
put it on the map. She made it money.
No.
Well, who did then, Bob?
The medium.
The great
itself.
train robber that didn't make any money.
Again, you don't cite any particular content. The movie medium
Oh, it's
itself.
not content.
The movie medium
It's
itself.
form.
The movie medium itself
Is feminine.
no. Is
The only
not- is-
the only
is not-
reason people showed up, Chaplin was even playing a girl.
Yeah. Okay.
Stan Laurel was playing a female.
Let's have some feed forward, not feedback here. Movie is male. So
Those movies are going to be more popular in 40
any
years
movie
than
will be-
anything by Lynch.
any movie will be popular.
Yeah, because they are
Any movie,
movies.
Just because they're movies.
Lynch is
medium.
just a guy for a few art students to go
That's
see.
right. That's right. So the movie medium.
Are you saying I'm right, or you're just reacting somehow, machine-like?
I am trying to move forward
Where?
into this important scientific statement I'm making. When McLuhan wrote his books, he distorted his percepts so they matched with the book medium. When Lynch makes his movies, he distorts them and emphasizes the sort of the obvious point that the women are male projections because the medium dictates that. That's a medium. That's the characteristic of the movie medium. It's male, so therefore it rules. It rules the content. But the whole content is about each woman. Blue Velvet is about two women. Laura Palmer and Lost Highway is about a woman. It's always about women.
You just told me not to talk about content.
Right.
Did you not?
Right. It's always about
Oh.
women, but the movie makes it look like it's about the man.
In McLuhan terms, it's a hot medium.
Yeah.
What, movies?
High definition.
Yeah.
Therefore, you bring in the feminine as a complementary.
Yeah.
As content.
Yeah. Yeah. It's content, and it doesn't come, and the content can't get through because it's controlled by the movie medium. It's controlled by the form, so there's limitations. Didn't you quote limitations earlier?
No.
Yeah,
what is the
image
movie
limited.
form?
Public image limited.
Oh, that's only in audio.
No, in all media are public images, public archetypes, and that's in this book, The Bias of Communication, is about the imaging, about the limiting effect of each medium. Now, Bob is not limited. Now we're going to get to your point. Bob is not limited because he's not a medium. He is beyond the machine world. He is after the satellite world, where the fusion of first and second nature, that impossible miracle that leads to the frictionless neg entropy, not net entropy society, with the help of Connie, that is the good news. Therefore, any expression of Bob via any medium is a fragment, and before 1990, before the fusion. So it's distorted. That's why you have these 5 Bobs. And Rumpelstiltskin is the Pentan manager of that situation. He's the last machine. And he's a little retrovirus.
Now,
You know.
isn't the term machine a misnomer?
Right.
Because it implies
Yep.
Newtonian. and we're
That's
talking
right.
Software.
That's very good. Hey, but when did you first think of that?
Just a little while ago.
You should have thought that last year, because
Yeah.
when I did that seminar on phatic communion with machines,
Oh. Yes.
I was using the wrong word. You can't use
Which word was wrong?
the word machine. No, the machines don't exist in the 20th century. It's all interior landscape and software.
Oh, sure.
You know.
Hence
but-
Finnegan's Wake.
But see, that shows you the distortion of communication. no matter how you communicate, you're distorting the situation. That's why the critic Gerald Stern asked McLuhan, will there ever be silence? And he said, objects are unobservable, only relationships among objects are observable. In other words, you can't get to that point. That's the end point of my Entertainment Sucks. No, Finnegan's Wake. One of the two, whichever one it is, in flip side, is that we cannot experience death, because that would be an object, that would be an end point, that would be an actual, something isolated. If you experience death, you're isolated.
This evolution that you just described
Software and hardware?
no,
Machine.
of Bob.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
evolution of you and Rooney.
Yeah.
Isn't that a retrieval?
Yes.
Time before all this?
That's all a retrieval. You're right. It's all CD-ROM. That chart is CD-ROM because all you can have in from 77 on is retrievals. Because when you get to the flat line at the bottom of the chart, it's not knowable, the new dimension. There's no medium that can communicate it. So all you have is Connie looking at the rear view mirror retrievals, which are, what was the word you said? Yeah, you just said retrievals, which is the medium for that is CD-ROM and internet. The web is a retrieval, but it's retrieved in the 90s after the only retrievals that could still stay alive from 77 to 90, when Bob and Connie brought life to various things, retrieved them as they continued on alone from 77 to 90. You follow that?
So
That's why they're called holopathic retrievals.
So maybe a better term, maybe a preferable term would be technology, but lowest common denominator that's accessible is the term machine.
Right.
Because things are machines, but they are actually our technology.
And American culture is machine culture. So when you're talking to Americans, you use their language. You know, you say their word, but you're only putting them on.
Right.
You're only adopting their bias temporarily, and you don't mean what you're really saying. But you got to use words, and you got to use media to communicate to disappeared machines, and that's the dilemma of communication, which is what I'm always explaining.
Right. The moral
If we
communication.
evolve and forget our memory, if we evolve to have no memory,
Ah,
that's what I mean.
that's a very good point, because that's the final apocalypse.
Right.
Do you want me to clarify that, or you continue your question?
That's the U-turn on the Lost Highway again.
No, I'm saying.
He's just talking about me.
I'm just questioning.
That's ISIS talking. It's just all about me. It's all about me, Raif, Mr. Raif. Wasn't for you, Mr. Raif, you'd be fucking homeless. Go
See,
ahead.
we got off the ISIS thing, though.
Oh no, I just brought it up.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
That's because I was thinking you should bring it up about now.
Good. Yeah. That I would. See, the director shifts around. You don't know who
Because-
the director is.
Well, simply because.
But you're interrupting him. You should be aware. I know that what you say will contribute, but let's let him finish.
You have to talk really loud.
Yeah.
Well, I've lost my thought, but that's okay. That's
No,
what I'm
the
saying.
thought
I'm
was something
I'm
you said
highly
her.
evolved.
Because you lost your memory.
That's because I'm.
You are evolved
highly
now.
And if I'm more highly evolved in this memoryless state, none of this is going to affect me. These machines, how they talk.
Right.
Nancy was talking about that earlier.
Right.
And I won't be able to be corrupted or have my creation usurped by a director.
Right.
Like.
Any medium.
Nancy, being ISIS, even took it a step further.
But
Your
that-
memories.
Nancy even took it a step further.
But
Yes.
that's just living
Yes,
in the
because
moment.
I am.
She won't even remember what she puts out there, nor take responsibility for it.
And that's why Krishnamurti is in the chart. He's the guru of no memory. You know.
Yeah,
that-
that's why he's my guru.
Thank you.
Is he your guru?
Of course.
I knew Krishnamurti back in the 30s. Can you believe that? Way back.
She thought you were him on KPFK.
No, I didn't, but I said.
Well, you thought he was similar.
No, when he says, oh,
Okay, you thought he was
Her
her.
as she was listening.
You thought he was her.
no. He said, this is Bob from the Church of the Subgenius.
He introduced me to you?
He was listening to it. I woke up to this.
She
On
woke
the
up.
radio. Can you imagine?
She woke up.
Very good, Terry.
She awoke.
Yeah, and you did it.
ISIS woke up to the male medium radio.
Via a medium, see.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I had a memory of it, but.
Okay, what happened?
But he thought,
It
because
w-
we had just heard about this Church of the Subgenius over and over from a friend.
Yeah.
He says, this is Bob Dobbs. I listened for a little while. I says, not. He's doing a Krishnamurti kind of thing. He's doing a Zen, Zen cone kind of. That's what I took it as.
Yeah.
And I was very fascinated.
A Zen
So we
cone.
had this big, It's like
A big what? Myth? Big
no,
bleh.
no,
myth.
No, I mean, he
Myth. You
had-
said the word
Myth.
myth, didn't you?
Did I?
No, she said she had a big something. Big
Zen cone.
No. You just said we had this big.
Blah.
Oh, blah. Okay, yeah.
Going on, we're going, well, it is, it isn't, it isn't, we're listening. That's about it. I mean, and it led from one thing to another, but I mean.
To Jerry.
Yeah,
You had to call Jerry.
And then to Nelson.
Yeah.
You were just confused for a while.
I'm still confused.
That's because you're getting laid.
Yeah, but you will remain in a state of confusion.
Confusion straightens me out, yeah.
You will remain in a state of confusion until the fact of Lockdown Bob rule fucking proves it. Because you don't know if I'm telling the truth yet. You'll never know until I prove what I'm saying, right?
It's the end of the century. Confusion is sex.
See, I understood Lockdown Bob rule.
Yeah.
What
As
did you understand?
The way I interpreted it was the content, the viewer content. You have the machines talking to each other,
Yeah.
trying to pick up on any kind of little thing that
Yeah.
Bob
That
might
moves.
be interested
Oh,
in.
fuck anything that moves, says
Right.
Dennis Hopper.
So that Bob will look at this and see that, and he'll interpret it this, that, all the Bobs.
Yeah.
All Bob is what I thought. And so I thought this was like a bottom-up lockdown rule and what's happening. And it's becoming more and more obvious that we're all just walking around little automatons with whatever we have happened to pick up on. And that's it. And the machines are talking to each, they're just talking out here
Yeah.
at each other.
Fatted communion.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night,
Yeah.
even.
In the dark ages.
Is it?
Then we
Pink
become,
noise?
Ooh.
They paint noise?
No, pink.
Somebody had an album called Pink Noise. I think it was Bill Nelson.
it's like I told him I got this
Bill Nelson.
from looking at,
that's like
looking
Wall
at,
Street
at the
Week.
ants on my counter.
You got this from that?
No, after. I was thinking about
Yeah.
how this was. A lot. I mean, I don't know if this is true. So that's the question I wanted to ask
The
you.
New York Observer is Pink Noise.
Okay, the ants were on my counter, and I was trying to go, what do they want? So I put some butter out. They didn't. One of them got stuck in the butter. I put some honey out. A couple of them got stuck in the honey, and that was it. These things, I'm smashing them every which way, but I can't get them to come together
Ooh.
for one thing. They're not fat. They're not sugar. So I later find them eating a piece of egg yolk. So they're obviously protein.
Mmm.
So I go, that's sort of like what I think of as myself as a machine, throwing out the various things to see where I can get the biggest number of
Yeah.
people coming. So that's how I was viewing Bob.
That's so lynching because in the documentary, that is his first fetish. He's dealing with ants. It's a family joke. They're always being nice to ants and dealing with ants. That's his whole artwork. So it's funny we haven't got out of Lynch yet.
No,
no,
take it away from Lynch.
Yeah.
I just realized why Bob will never get me.
Why?
Because whenever anyone says, I understand what you mean, other than me, Bob goes, oh, really? And when I say it, he gets really, really pissed off.
Okay. No. Okay. You'll have to restate. I didn't know what pronoun was who. I didn't get what you said. Can you redo that again? What? Who said?
She
what?
said, I understand what you meant.
She said that to me.
And I've said that at least 5 times today, and you say, oh, well, if you'd let me finish.
You've said that you've understood me?
Everybody here at some point today has said,
They've understood.
I understand what you mean by the...
And what do I do? And what happens? Then what
You
happens?
go, oh.
I go, oh, and,
Oh,
and then you mention
And then when
you.
I say it,
Yeah.
there's a reaction.
I don't react to them.
Right.
Well, no, because they're off camera.
So we're doing the enactment
They're
of the
off camera.
Lynch medium.
I didn't.
Oh, I didn't finish the
said my
thought, though, yet.
understanding was, not that I understand.
I didn't finish the thought
yeah,
yet.
yeah.
Which is, I am...
You want to finish his thought, Tom? Now you know how it feels. You try to finish his thought.
I already finished it for
Keep
me, so...
interrupting him, but-
No, I already finished it for me, so I never get mad.
As Dave Emery would say, what goes around, comes around. Now you've
Emery always leaves me a little bored. See? See?
you've assumed the persona of the dark Bob versus the light Bob.
I don't know how you're getting darkness from
I
me.
have a recording by them.
I'm the angel with the
Good
knife.
comedy
Yeah,
crew.
yeah, yeah.
But
I'm the angel with the knife. I'm gonna deliver you at the
Doing
end.
the parody of is the premium Bob, but you're really the preeminent Bob.
Yeah.
So-
See, I'm the irritant. I'm the video
Precisely.
to his Lynch.
That's why this tension is
To his
highly
Lynch.
valuable. Do you want to be a little
To his
bit
Lynch. You know how
more-
much he paid me to do this? I can't even tell you. It's
I
off
don't
the
wanna
scale.
know.
You're
Off
the little board or the piece of wood to his eraser.
No, I have nothing to do with these Venice people.
He even came here in a cab.
I came in a cab.
He's gone.
No paper trail. No paper trail. You can't go out there and find a pink
Or a bus ticket.
slip.
A bus transfer.
There's no pink slip, baby.
I do want to correct. I didn't mean to.
The meter's still running,
I
though.
didn't mean
A
to
new
say
guy.
understood.
I have to
The
say
meter's
this.
still running.
A new guy made a novel called Pink. Well-known filmmaker. Who the hell was it? What did he make?
A novel.
Probably Derek Jarman. He always does the colors.
He was interviewed just in New York. He's a friend of Gus Van Sant.
Oh,
There's
that's
a
right.
book
Yeah, that's
called
right.
Pink.
That's right.
And it's about his. Lenny Lope was interviewing him and said, "Well, this character is Courtney Love. This character is Phoenix River. That whole scene of whatever celebrityhood in the early '90s. He's written a novel about it, and he didn't deny it. I think.
Well, Stone did them one worse. He wrote a novel about himself.
Right. which he wrote for 30 years ago
A
in 67.
child's night dream. He finally admitted.
And I read a review.
He finally admitted. He finally admitted what I predicted like 2 months ago when it came out. I said, this guy fucking revised this thing all over the place. He finally came out now in the New York Times and said, yeah, I worked on it for the last year. So he's thrown out the initial myth that he was Rambo and he wrote a book at 19 that was amazing. It's actually a good book.
And what did Mailer say?
The writing, Mailer said it's like Finnegan's Wake.
Right. He had to
And
do
it
the Bob
is.
reference.
And it is.
No one has ever said something's a Finnegan's
It's
Wake.
actually an excellent book.
You read it?
It's the only good thing he's ever done. Yeah, it's excellent.
Mailer said that about
It begins, where does it begin? In the Damon Neal art world. 67.
Yeah.
67. And you haven't read it.
Well, that's right.
There's a Bob guy at the party.
Yeah.
I understand. Watch him get mad.
He's trying to.
I'm glad I didn't
Look,
hear that.
he's getting mad. The ears again. So now we're back to the lens. What's
His eyes into an ear.
what's with all the ears? Okay, Harry
Dr.
Dean
Scott,
Stanton has the enormous.
Somebody had a question. I like to go back.
I had that question earlier.
What was it?
What about the ears? We did the head. Let's
We're
localize.
still on Lynch, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's go back to this thing that he does with the actors by what is it that he extracts from them?
The xenochrony. Now let me explain that that's not synchronization. His movies always seem to be, you and I, somebody talked about, they seem to be synchronizing. But synchronizing is old matching. When everything's one, you want to be different. The problem is, as you be different and pretend you're Rai and try to cause problems, you always end up back imploded into the one, because you can't be more than one. And since we're everywhere, we are one, which is what the log lady says. So xenochrony is a temporary attempt to be different and to create something unique. So Lynch, he gets them to do something in his laboratory, but he matches it back to his formula, which inevitably leads him back to the implosion. You see, so that's why so that's xenochrony. He waits to see what will show up that will synchronize with the formula. And the formula is the means to get to the implosion where he collapses. See, xenochrony is not synchrony, it's the opposite. Synchronization is trying to make everything merge and match and we're all one and on the same wave. Xenochrony says, no, I want to get off the wave and be a dissonance. All right? Stir up shit.
What's the last line in Lost Highway?
Stop.
The highway line itself.
What's the last line in the Lost Highway?
The highway line.
No, the last piece of verbal dialogue.
Okay, what is it? I don't remember. What?
After the cops are observing Bill when he goes to his squawk box and pushes it and talks, right?
Yeah. The cops are observing him?
Yeah, remember they're
What
up
do
the
they-
street.
what do
They're
they say?
casing out the street.
Yeah, what do they say?
Does somebody know the line?
No, you know, hopefully he knows the line. What's the line?
Now she's getting upset.
Yeah.
This is good. This is good.
She's looking for significance.
Your red light is blinking.
Oh, it's getting close to the end.
Yeah, what's the line?
The
Tom?
last line is, I'm beginning to think there's no such thing as a bad coincidence.
No, that
There's
means
no value judgment.
that's xenochrony.
No, I don't think it is at all.
Then,
It's not at
I
all.
got the insight. Then that's the anti-environment to the statement by Agent Cooper at the end of the first 2-hour segment preceding the first season.
About coincidence.
About
right.
the value that,
Of two.
that there's so.
What does he say?
If
That thing we just saw, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
What
exactly.
he said, he
He's
said,
talking.
I don't remember it
you
exactly.
run into
Synchronicity.
Yeah.
And the punchline is xenochrony, not synchrony. That's why Cooper gets taken over by Bob at the end of Twin Peaks. He fails. And he's come back and he is possessed. I don't know if you know the ending. He fails. He's taken over. It's Bob Marshall being taken over by Bob Dobbs, so to speak, or is it Bob Dean being taken over by Bob Dobbs? But the point, he fails because he starts out with the goal of synchronicity. When two things match, you've got something. You got to pay strict attention.
Right.
Now he's paying strict attention
Regarding a
to the
single-
content, to the synchronicity.
regarding a single object.
Yeah.
Just let him into the vortex.
That which is being pursued.
Yeah, yeah. Now he's right to bring the bad coincidence. There's a lot of semantics in that, but basically the statement to me points out the final realization of Lynch is that he's been xenocronous. So to explain
Well, it's
this-
even further than that.
probably. But the thing is that xenochrony is trying to be different, but it fails too. And so Lynch, he knows that he has to take whatever happens, fits into the formula. We could consider the formula the oneness that everything has to filter back through, or the formula is his way of being unique and being a Rai temporarily. So that's a big question, what it is. But the point is he is using the medium of acting to create contrary goals, which confuses the actors. And that's his xenocronous act. Just
No break, okay?